Food scene, legacy farm. Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Right.
Hopefully it'll be nice and
Oh, I think I heard it. Start.
Hello.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Childers.
You're welcome. My 9 o'clock alarm.
Welcome to the meeting of the Holiday Island Board of Commissioners. Today is Monday, January 23rd. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. The board is committed to disclosure of the business activities of the district to the public, as well as the public's ability to make comments at public meetings. On behalf of the Holiday Island Board of Commissioners, I call this meeting to order. I want to remind all in attendance that the Board of Commissioners acts as a governing body, whereas the district manager is responsible for the day-to-day activities, operations of the district. The purpose of the board as elected representative of the property owners is to provide direction to the district manager and assure the financial solvency of the district. It is not the responsibility of the commissioners to become involved in the daily operations of the district. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Stamps, will you call the roll, please?
Chairwoman Surratt,
Here.
Dr. Brown,
Here.
Suzanne, Commissioner Childress,
Here.
Lady Stamps here.
Thank you, sir.
And Bob
Yeah,
Dyer.
he's
There he
wandering
is.
around.
There he is. Okay, and Commissioner Dyer.
Present.
All members being present, I declare a quorum. We have, our next item is to approve the agenda, and I do have a couple of amendments to make to the agenda. Under reports, in addition to the grant interest and application process, we would like to add awarding a contract to Ozark Striping and Sealing for maintenance work on parking lots. And because of the dollar amount, this does not require a vote, but Danny will discuss it with us. District manager will discuss it with us. Item number 11B, new business. We failed to mention in the fourth item, excuse me, the facility rental fees in the original agenda. I would like to amend the question as follows. Excuse me. Consideration action to amend the golf fees, swimming pool fees, and facility rental fees. Do I have any discussion?
I move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brown and second by Commissioner Childers to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor? Aye. The vote is unanimous. The agenda will be amended. Approval of the minutes from December 19 regular meeting and the January 9 special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as we have all seen?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Dyer
Second.
and seconded by Commissioner Brown to approve the minutes of the December 19 regular meeting and the January 9 special meeting. Do we have any ceremonial announcements? I don't. I'm not aware of any. Any other announcements for anyone that wants to make to the group? We will next turn to the public comments. As a reminder, you are allowed 3 minutes for your public comments. We ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address for our records. I do have Doug Pinkley for some general comments.
Yes, good morning, Board. I envy your position.
Is your mic on?
Just press
Push the green button down there on the.
Yeah, it's on now.
There we go, good job.
I think it's pretty loud. My voice carries pretty good.
So does mine, we'll be all right.
He probably doesn't need
Might just have to stand back a little bit.
But
I guess I would like to speak to the number 5 thing on the business. Is that okay at this point, or shall we wait?
I would prefer you say that. We will call for public comments again
Okay.
during the discussion of the new business.
Okay, I'll just pass on this right now until that comes up.
I got you down
All right,
on the
thank
other
you.
one. Thank you. Pat Elwood, did you have a comment for this portion of the meeting?
Well, I'm confused. I thought this was the only portion that the public
No.
wants to talk about.
Let me run that by you all. We have 2 sections for public comments. The first are general public comments. The second will come up during the business portion of the meeting. And after we have a motion to discuss the business portion, you will be asked for more comments.
Okay, well, I'll reserve my comments because I'm here specifically.
I'm going to move your check over to the other column.
Well, if I had my glasses, I probably would.
And Mr. Mills, Ken Mills? Deferred. We'll move you over to the other column. So there being no public comments at this time, we will move on to the reports. Commissioner Presley, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You asked that we discuss the parking lot project. As you mentioned, this is below the threshold to require a vote, so it was not listed as an item. However, I just wanted to brief the board and our other participants that are here. The parking lots are in disrepair in 4 particular locations. The marina itself, where, right there at the boat ramp where you launch the boats and whatnot. And then there's overflow trailer parking right here adjacent to this building, right down the hill. That parking lot's also got a lot of cracks, pieces of it coming up. Also, where the old yacht club used to be, there's another parking area there. It's kind of up on the hill. You may know where the fuel storage area is, and that is right above the boat ramp and the marina parking. And then the last section that needs to be repaired is over at the recreation center. And so that is a total of about $25,000 to $28,000 to do all of those parking lots. So we took bids from 4 different companies. 2 of them actually submitted a bid. The other 2 kind of disappeared on us. Wouldn't give us a quote, wouldn't return our calls. I don't know if they just weren't interested in the job or whatever, but that happens a lot nowadays. So that project will be upcoming. The recreation center, we do not want to try to resurface that now. Would not make sense with all that construction that may be happening and trucks and equipment and all of that. So if the recreation center project is approved, then we'll do the parking lot after the construction is complete.
It's here.
And one other thing I would like to brief you on. We had a comment from a resident that said there were no opportunities for grants or loans and no deadlines, and but that information is not correct. So I printed this paper here. Some of you may have picked one of these up. It has a green heading on it from the Arkansas Division of Natural Resources. ANRC is actually Arkansas Natural Resources Committee. And they have a grant/low-interest loan program for cities and suburban improvement districts for water and wastewater projects. And they have provided us with a schedule here of application deadlines. And the way this works in 2023, for example, there's an application deadline for February 13th. The committee will meet to review and award grants on March the 15th. Then there's another window on April 17th, for which they meet in May to review those, and so forth through the year. There's 6 opportunities to apply in 2023. And this is federal money that comes to the state and is administered by the state. It's highly competitive. They will receive hundreds and hundreds of applications. Our application is being prepared now by ESI Engineering out of Springdale. And we have, I believe, 4 different projects that we have applied for funding. One is to rehab well number 4. We have an application to rehab well number 5. We have an application for a wastewater treatment system that treats the effluent water before it goes back into Table Rock Lake. That's a UV system. And that, by the way, is a state mandate that we implement that system. It's $780,000. So we have applied for that as well. And then the 4th thing is the PRV project. PRV is pressure release valves. And there's a system of those throughout Holiday Island. I think there's 38 of them. We have 16 or 17 valves remaining that have not been installed. And our plan is to hire a contractor to finish all of those in 2023, so we can get that project done. So we have a lot ahead of us in 23, and my thanks to this board who has committed and reiterated time and time again that we are going to do these projects. We have money set aside, we have the application process, but one way or another, we're going to get these things done in 23. And so that's the status. As I mentioned, February 13th is the deadline for the first go-around. And ESI is working hard to get those applications ready, and then the bid packets to do the work. And those bid packets will go out statewide. Typically, we'll run those for about 3 weeks. So we make sure that a lot of contractors get their eyes on that, and hopefully we can get several bids in here and have some options as to whom we award the bid. So that's a little bit about ANRC and that application process.
Thank you, District Manager Presley.
Yes,
Didn't want to
ma'am.
demote you there. Our District
Madam Chair,
Manager.
Are we allowed to comment on the report, just briefly?
Yes, briefly.
I'm really happy that you brought up the paving, and I really appreciate the attendance to that by your staff and you, because blacktop is sort of like, Arnold Palmer, pay me now or pay me later, the old Pennzoil commercial. And with our weather up here, it's not as bad as upper Michigan where I'm from, but when you get frost under blacktop, and it'll buckle and it'll crack, and the more it cracks, the wider it's going to get. And pretty soon, after a few years, you're replacing the whole parking lot, not just passing or patching rather. So I'm really happy. I've been preaching infrastructure management and repairs for several months. And so I really appreciate Mike or whoever brought that up. There was one, I think, comment, Danny, in your memo about the rock wall by the marina. Was that included? Or is that just the parking lot down there?
Just the parking lot. I didn't mention the rock wall, and if there's an issue with it, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Anything else? Moving along, there being no old business, we will now proceed with our new business. And frog in my throat today. Before we address the questions before the board, I would like to remind the commissioners about seconding motions. A second does not imply an aye vote. It simply brings the question to a vote. All commissioners are then free to vote aye or nay. Item number 1, the question is to consider act to amend the HICID personnel policies, Section 303, holidays, to add Veterans Day as a paid holiday, and to clarify the policy for fire department employees' holiday pay. And I will read that to you. Veterans Day will be added as November 11th, the traditional day that has been since 1938. So, for the fire department holiday pay, each full-time fire department employee is eligible for 8-hour holiday pay for all HICID holidays they work after they have been employed full-time for 90 days. This holiday pay will be accumulated, and all firefighters will be paid all holiday pay at the same time on the first paycheck in December. Full-time firefighters working New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day will receive 12 hours holiday pay for those holidays. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioners, any discussion?
I have a question. These are for firefighters who are full-time or at the main fire stations, not the volunteers who are paid for show-up pay, right?
That is correct. Right? Yes.
That is
full-time.
correct.
And what were they being paid before? We're asking for an increase, what, or
No,
any pay?
Commissioner, Manager Presley, would you please address that for us?
Yes. This, to be candid, is to clean up a policy that really wasn't well-written. It didn't address all of this, and we had firefighters that, in good faith, they filed to get 24 hours of holiday pay because firefighters work either 12s or 24s in most cases, sometimes 48 hours. And there was just confusion about what they should be paid. And so when we went through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, we realized we had a problem because we had a poor policy. So we rewrote the policy just to clean it up and make sure we're consistent in the way we're handling holiday pay. And by the way, thank you to Miss Carrie Buchanan, who's our office manager. Carrie took the time to call surrounding fire departments and see how this is typically done in most fire departments, and we've kind of modeled our policy after that. And just to be consistent.
So if a firefighter works at the office up there on call, he or she is there at the building, and they work Christmas Day, let's just take an example. They're paid for that day, but they're going to be paid an extra 12 hours, which is time and a half, 8 times 1.5. So they're going to be paid, there are 8 hours that they would be working there, whether they're on a 12 or 24 or 48, they're going to get paid for that day plus time and a half extra for that holiday. Is that right?
No, sir, they'll be paid, okay, they work 12-hour shifts,
Okay.
but they come in at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Okay.
So, the holiday is actually a portion of the day that they're working.
Uh-huh.
However, in the case of Christmas, Christmas Eve is also considered an observed holiday. So that entire 12 hours would be holiday time. And so they're paid 12 hours at time and a half rather than just the straight time that they would normally work.
Okay.
They're getting an extra 50%.
Correct. Limited to 12 hours, not 24.
Okay.
And we had time cards come in with 24 hours on there, and so it led to some confusion and some disparity between various firefighters who submitted their time in different ways. And this cleans it up.
I appreciate you getting this straightened out because we have had, it seems, difficulty with the rates that are paid in the area surrounding us, particularly Bentonville, Rogers, Fayetteville, to retain and keep full-time people. So I think if they were to get this at all of those other places, we might lose them if we don't bump it up a little bit. So I think that's a good idea.
Any other comments from the commissioners on the question?
I have a question, and it might be a suggestion. I'm looking, my background where I was employed, you had straight time pay, you had overtime pay, which was time and a half, and then you had holiday pay, which was double time. I don't see in this policy where it defines what holiday pay is. And I know Ken had mentioned time and a half, and is it time and a half or is it double?
It is time and a half.
Should we say that in the policy?
Sure. I believe that's a good idea, just to make sure that we don't have any other confusion. Yes, good suggestion, and I can certainly edit this before it goes into the policy manual.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful.
And so this is separate from the fire department pay. This is regular full-time employee pay that you're suggesting that be added.
Well, and, I mean, we should define the fire department. thing.
Well, that was done. I mean, the fire department would be included in,
Yes.
yeah.
But if we
But this
have,
would be for all full-time employees is the
That is
point I'm
correct.
trying to.
if we have an emergency where people have to be called in to work on the roads and this kind of stuff, they will be paid time and a half. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, okay. Are there any public comments regarding this question? Don't see any, okay. Are we ready for the question, commissioners? Is the adoption of the motion to amend HICID personnel policy, section 303 holidays, to include Veterans Day and to clarify the policy for fire department employees' holiday pay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries, and Veterans Day is now a paid holiday. The fire department employees will be compensated as previously read. Moving along. The second question for discussion. The question is to consider act to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island regarding fire protection services. Do I have a motion to approve the agreement? The discussion of the agreement.
I moved we go to the discussion of the agreement.
I'll second that.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brown and seconded by Commissioner Stamps that we consider the question. The city is in need of fire protection services and has determined that such services can best be provided by HICID. The governing body of the city has approved the interlocal agreement, and we are being asked to agree to our portion of it. Any discussion, commissioners? Are there any public comments regarding the interlocal agreement between the city and the fire department? Yes, ma'am.
Is it the same amount as the previous agreement?
The amount, go ahead.
It is a different amount,
Greater than?
less than.
Why? Why
Because we are dealing with two areas of public safety. You have law enforcement and you have fire department. In 2023, the city will be taking over all law enforcement services for the district and the city. That will include 2 deputies that will be contracted between the city and the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. So that expense is being shifted to the city side, which is just ballpark figure somewhere around $100,000. The district, HICID, will be taking over fire department services, fire protection. And But the city, as a city of second class, they are still required to provide fire protection, but they're accomplishing that via a contract with HICID, and their contribution will be $5,000 each year. Last year, we split the fire department cost basically 50-50, and I think your contribution was $48,000. That's the reason the numbers, the contribution has changed because our responsibilities have changed.
For the record, the question was asked by Rebecca Sherman, and I didn't follow the policy, and she is not signed up to speak, so we will move along. Are we ready for the question? The question.
I'm sure, I think for those who are new, I see some newcomers here today, and glad you're here. We're so rural around Carroll County. There are several fire districts. You go over toward and on the way to Rogers, and even if you don't know the names, there's fire stations here and there. And I've been impressed the years I've been here that they all get together when there's a fire. Doesn't matter if it's a house fire, grass fire, and all they have to do is the dispatcher calls out for extra help, and we have a lot of help. And in order to do that, we have to have agreements, particularly here with the rural fire people. So I think they're all run by boards. They have their own board, they have their own budget and so forth. But I think the way that we're able to keep severe damage down, or loss of life, if you will, on fire protection and EMS is this agreement. So I think it's a way of people and departments cooperating together. And if we were to do, for instance, if you look at the marina, you look over here at homes over here on the hill, that takes forever to get over there for our truck. So Eagle Rock and Mana Fire Department will go there, and we will, and the fire chief could explain that better than I can, and they have in this meeting before. But so we can't get to that. It's in Holiday Island, right over here. You can see the houses right up on the hill there, but we can't get there. So Eagle Rock and Mana come over, fight the fire, and we go over there and back them up. But it works great. So this is, I'm sure glad to see this on the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Are we ready for the question? The question is to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island to provide fire services to the city. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is carried for HICID to approve the interlocal fire services agreement with the city. Moving on to question 3. The question is to consider act to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island regarding road maintenance for the city. Do I have a motion to approve the agreement?
I move we approve the agreement with the city.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We'll give this one to Suzanne, to Commissioner Childers. I will say the City of Holiday Island is responsible for maintenance of roads for which the city has the right-of-way. The city has chosen to contract with HICID for road maintenance services. The governing body of the city has approved the interlocal agreement, and they are asking that we approve our portion of the agreement. Do we have any other commissioner comments? I see
I would
no.
just- I
oh,
would
I'm
just
sorry.
say that I appreciate the cooperation between the City of Holiday Island and the Suburban Improvement District.
Thank you, Ms. Childers.
Indeed.
Also, I'm sure this is a way that when we formed the city and they were getting turnback funds, that's money that we didn't get before, and now we see the cooperation here of getting turnback funds to be used for items like this, which is real important. And before they were a city and we were a city, we only had HICID funds to deal with. So this is an extra bonus, if you will, of that vote.
Yes, sir.
It might be worthwhile to point out that this only deals with State Line and Hawk Drive. Those are the only 2 streets that were turned over to the city.
That is correct. There being no one on the list asking to make public comments on this item, I will ask it, are you ready for the question, commissioners? The question is to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island to provide road maintenance for the roads for which the city has right-of-way. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is carried for HICID to approve to provide road maintenance for the city. Okay. Item number 4, and this is the biggie. The question is to consider act to amend the golf fees, swimming fees, and facility rental fees. Do I have a motion for discussion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Brown and seconded by Commissioner Dyer that we consider the question. Golf Facilities Manager Lauren Bernstein will go over the proposed golf fees and the proposed new rental rates for the clubhouse facilities.
How's everyone doing? This is on, yeah?
Yep.
Yes.
Lauren Bernstein, 17 Country Club Drive. So I formed an ad hoc committee.
You formed a citizens committee?
I formed a citizens committee to kind of discuss golf rates and to see kind of what's fair in their eyes, being that we're kind of moved with this report to propose new rates. Obviously, the rates that Mr. Coleman proposed are pretty high for the area and the median income, and I don't believe that most residents would be able to afford them, nor non-residents. So these rates kind of reflect a compromise between the two. So if we go down from top to bottom, we've addressed the daily rate, and I have the previous price to what the new price will be for this year.
Can you expand that, Sherry, do you think? Can you make it any bigger? Okay, there we go.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, so the rates that you're looking at currently are the daily fees, right? So for the new daily fee for a property owner, it would be $25 for the green fee. Our cart rate will go to $20 for a half a seat for everyone for 18 holes. So that rate will be now $45. It was $37, I believe. I think overall, the general price raise will be about 20 to 25% in general and just a blanket policy. I mean, going down the line for a guest, it will go to $35 for the green fee, again, $20 for the cart rate. And for a non-property owner, it goes to $45 and $20. So previously, last year, the non-property owner rate was $50. It will now be $65, and that includes cart. As you see, we have the 9-hole rates as well. And again, you know, we just tried to modestly bump them up. Again, basically 20% all the way across the board. The cart rental will be the same for the non-property owner as to the property owner because gas costs the same to us. It doesn't change for a property owner, non-property owner. But those are the daily rates. I think they're pretty fair. Still, to me, the key to increasing our solvency is to increase play from outside play. So we're going to also try to amend that as well. But if we scroll down, we can go to the annual rates, and these are probably the hot button topics for a lot of people. So for the individual property owner, it was $750. We proposed a rate of $150 increase to $900. That's somewhere in between. Again, Mr. Cummin was suggesting that we double the rate or even triple the rate. So I think that's a modest increase. For the non-property owner, it will go from $1,200 to $1,500. Again, I think the idea behind that being that we have to somehow fit the assessment of benefits into their fee to have access to the course. For the family, now for the property owner, it's $1,500. The family non-property owner will be $2,100. The private card fee, and that refers to your card if you own the card. We've already applied that rate. It went from $210 to $250. For a cart lease, meaning that you're renting a half seat for the year from us, it will be $650. That's a $100 increase. That's a property owner. As a non-property owner, we'll go from $575 to $700. Then we have the rates that apply to both the family for a property owner and non-property owner, and then also cart storage went up by $50 for annual, so it's $400 as opposed to $350. I don't know, this doesn't have the room rate stuff. I do have some of the room rates here, it'll just be a flat rate. Last year it was $395. This year it'll be $500. That's what I'm proposing for is this the ballroom property owner daily? Oh, those, you're on the deposit. Will you scroll up just a little bit? Yeah. So, yeah. So last year, $395 for a daily fee. It will be $5 this year, if these rates are approved, obviously. All this is all contingent upon the rates being approved. For a non-property owner, I moved to $695 from $500. Room A, for a daily fee, it will be $100 as opposed to $75. For a non-property owner, $125. Room B, the small room, would be $50 on a daily. Room B for a non-property owner, $70. The deposits basically stay the same. I kind of don't think they need to move. Basically, those are returned as long as the room is returned in good condition to us, so I don't necessarily view those as necessary to increase. If you scroll down, I didn't go over the annual rates on this sheet. I have some ideas. Now, if you look at those rates, the ballroom being rented by a group for $100 for the entire year, from Monday through Thursday, that can utilize the facility. I think that is pretty low. And if you call another community center in any city, I don't even think they offer annual rate. Maybe they would offer a discount if you signed up for an annual rate. But I don't know if we remove that fee altogether, but I came up with a number of $500. I kind of think that's fair. If you think of some of these groups, they're using the facility once a week for the full year. And we don't charge HIHA or HIFTA for their room rates, but they utilize the facility all throughout the year. Also, the leagues use the facility 2 or 3 times a year too, so it does apply. I mean, we could totally remove the annual rate for the ballroom. I don't think that would be popular either. I mean, this isn't a popularity contest, honestly, so if my charge is to somehow generate more revenue, I mean, these are the only real means of doing so, really. In my opinion, the ballroom and getting that facility to where we're renting it more and for more money represents a good chunk to me. Also, I don't want to have a differentiation between you're using the ballroom with the kitchen or without the kitchen. I think that's been kind of a silly deviation. For room A downstairs, we have several groups that utilize that on an annual basis. Currently, we charge them $65 for a year. I moved to increase that to $200 a year. And then also room B from $25 for the year to $100. That's basically all the fees. I didn't really discuss the fees with my committee. Those just I came up with on my own. But if you feel that they're unfair or need to be adjusted, we can work with that as well. But currently, that's what we have worked out. I guess that's all I really have to say. Do you have any questions?
We'll get to public comments.
Sure.
We'll turn this over now to commissioner comments. So it's our turn to grill you.
Okay, grill me.
The one thing that I noticed is missing is the driving range and the punch cards. Would you address that for us, please?
So with punch cards, we're kind of are cherry picking Mr. Cummings' report, but he'd like to kind of reduce the amount of discounted rates that we have available to the public, pushing more people to membership as opposed to doing these different punch cards. I know some people utilize them as convenience, so we kind of tossed the idea around it at charging just the regular rate, the daily rate, for whether it be a property owner or non-property owner, and just having the punch card available still. I mean, that's an option, or just completely removing them with a punch card. And then what was the second?
The driving range.
The driving range, in the committee and Mr. Coleman's report, they suggest closing the driving range. As an operational manager, I concur. As a player, I'm torn on it, to be fair. I enjoy the facility as something to utilize. However, maintaining it and the safety of staff down there is in question. So, and then also not to mention just the maintenance and wear and tear on our equipment. We send golf carts down a very bumpy gravel road, and most people only know that side of it. Well, once you actually take a golf cart past the decks and go into the hole, respectively, it's quite dangerous and hard on the machinery. And it's also been hard to actually maintain staff. We've been lucky to have Wes to stay down there for so long, but other than Wes, when I hire somebody to work down there, they'll make it a month, 2 months, and then usually it's sayonara, they're out of there. They don't enjoy the place. But I don't blame them. I've had to go down there several times to take fall myself, so. Like I said, I am torn on the subject. I would think that it would need to be approved or to actually make action on closing, and I don't think it's a decision that I can make by myself. So I guess really, I think it's kind of up to you, the direction on that, whether we do that or not. I do think it would be prudent to do so. Again, not going to be popular. That will not be a popular decision, but it's semi-underutilized and it's dangerous. So,
I have some comments here. Thank you, Lauren.
Can I just ask one question, or make a comment anyway?
Yes.
May I read my comments first?
Sure.
Let me do this because it may answer some of your questions. District Manager Presley, I'll get this right. I'm going to call you Danny. And then I won't mess it up. Danny, after some review, and he attended the Citizens Committee,
Yes.
Golf Committee, he arrived at a rationale for the driving range, and he just gave me permission to share this with you. The driving range is a losing proposition in terms of cost and revenue. It is a severe hazard to our employees who go down there to pick up the balls. One employee turned over a golf cart going down the hill. It does not get a lot of usage. It costs us about $15,000 a year to maintain the driving range, which is the employee, the upkeep on the ramps, repair work on the mowers and the tractors, and you all know more about that aspect of it than I do, but I know $15,000 would improve our revenue greatly.
It would help.
We can also reallocate I believe labor should be reallocated to general maintenance in and around Holiday Island facilities and landscaping and the golf course maintenance division. The mower being used to go down the hill is in bad shape and needs to be replaced now or in the next budget. Closing the driving range is a strong message to our community that we are serious about finding ways to streamline and improve golf operations. The driving range's dangerous topography and difficult access is an unacceptable liability to HICID. And so that's the reasoning that Danny put together for us as his thoughts on where this part of it should go. Is there now, commissioners?
I guess perhaps my only comment was, yes, you read us loud and clear. We do need to figure out how to increase income from the golf course. However, speaking as myself, not as the whole board, they're doing things like advertising on Groupon and offering a slightly discounted rate for that. I would not be opposed to that, just to bring somebody who's
Correct.
never been in to see
Yes.
the golf course.
Currently, we still have a campaign with Groupon. Whenever these prices are adjusted, I'm in control of the pricing on Groupon. So if the prices are adjusted, I'll obviously adjust the price on Groupon as well. We still are under contract with one other, and this is from Barry, but the Forest 8 golf cart, that is at the end of this year, will no longer be an option, but there's nothing I can really do about it. It's a contract that we signed private. But once we get that out of the way, there won't be as many discounted rates. And I know that we've talked about Golf Now or whatever. That's the software company. It's in trade, so that's not, I don't view that, it is a discounted rate, but I don't view it as something we're promoting as a discounted rate, so.
I just don't think we want to quit doing promotional marketing.
Absolutely not, no. I mean, to be frank, I do think that marketing is something, I know that we're restricted with that, but I think we need to really maybe pursue that, whether that be, this is kind of out of cheap, but marketing director for all of HISA, something like that, where it's a position that we build in maybe in the future. Because really to ask, me on a daily operational basis where I'm wearing all these hats anyways, it makes it difficult for me to really focus and give enough time to that. And I think that Holiday Island has more to market than just the golf course as well, so it's something to consider down the line.
In response to that, I would say that we're lucky to have Hi-Ha and
Correct.
Hi-Pro,
Correct.
who are major contributors to all of
That's
the
true.
advertising that's done for the community, and kind of pick up the slack on
That is true.
what the district itself is not able to do. Mr. Dyer.
Thank you very much. For an excellent job. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Number one, did the committee take a close look at competitive courses in the area and how we would line up with them with the proposed rates?
With Mr. Coma's report, the numbers that Mr. Coma put in his report, I gathered, so I have access to that same information. I've done a comparison for the last several years whenever we've adjusted rates. So I believe that the rates reflect, A, the quality of our golf course, and A, our competitors. You can compare us to Cassville or Berryville, but anybody who's played either of those courses know that we have a better product than either of those places. So we're not as high as the Branson courses, nor the Rogers courses, nor the Pinnacles, and people can compare us to those, but as you know, Pinnacle is like an executive of a Walmart community, so their median income is significantly higher than ours. Same with the Branson courses. We do compare with them in the fact that we're kind of situated between two tourist destinations, and we can draw from that. And I believe that is, to me, the key to actually generating the revenue that we're trying to do with this. But I really think that the pricing isn't fair in line with daily rates. And as far as membership is concerned, I think that you can find membership at another course, but again, the Holiday Islander who's saying they're gonna drive to Cassville, I would think they would quickly find that 2 trips to Cassville, it's gonna cost them $20 to $30 to drive to Cassville. It's a quarter, probably tank both ways, I would guess, 30 minutes. So by the time they thought they were saving themselves money, by the 10th round, they somewhere that our golfers are going to go or flee to, as from respite to this $150 charge. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay.
I believe that we're fair though, as far as the price increases.
Well,
And again,
and that's important.
yeah, again, if it is a debate and we want to revisit them, we can rework the numbers, but I just
wanted to get your assurance that you're comfortable with it. And-
we're gonna get blowback. I know
Oh,
that,
I know that.
And I'm also, unfortunately, I'm looking at menu price changes too for food, so it's probably gonna be, a little bit of a lashing and a beating up there for a while, but, I guess that's my position, so.
Commissioner
A
Brown.
comment then, my next part is actually a comment, and to play off of what Commissioner Childers just mentioned, the Groupon thing. The purpose of Groupon is to be a leader, a lost leader. It's if you buy a Groupon for a show in Branson, it's probably not going to be on the Friday night or Saturday night.
right.
They're going to want you to come at a time when business is slow.
Yeah,
And I would strongly suggest, if you're going to continue to use Groupon, which I think it's important, that maybe it be limited to Monday
isolate the time.
or after 4 PM play,
We can
you know,
include
those
that.
kind of things.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And same, the four-state card, one thing about it, it is a discounted rate, but there are a lot of criteria they're supposed to follow. So they're not allowed to book their tee time more than 24 hours in advance. On the weekends, they're supposed to play after 1, that kind of stuff. So really, again, like you say, it's supposed to be filling the holes that you don't have filled. So, yeah, I think with Groupon, you're absolutely right.
And my final comment on this matter, the ballroom, in my mind, that is, one of the ways that the ballroom is gonna maximize its ability to generate funds is by doing catering in
I agree.
conjunction with a rental. And I think we need to have a strict rule that if you're gonna have a wedding party at the ballroom, you don't bring in outside food and beverage, you buy it from us.
To an extent, I agree with that policy. However, with the current staffing, it makes it quite difficult to accommodate that.
I know it does. I know
So
it does.
basically,
Yeah.
I have to run the restaurant in such a way that it has irregular hours if we have a schedule like
Yeah.
that. So I have to
Yeah.
cancel dinner or lunch service. And it represents more money, but then at the cost of consistency, right? So we try to do as much as we can with it. We do the tournaments, we do all the stuff, but also the hours of these events are much later. So like I say, I would have to rework. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I do agree that that is a key to generating more money. So, I mean, I don't know if it should be a strict policy. The reason that it hasn't been so strict is because in COVID and all this nonsense that we've had to, deal with, we just were not able to have full staffing. So for me to guarantee that I can apply 2 people, and again, even with these events, even with that, 2 cooks, it's not anybody to serve the room or clean the room or whatever. I don't have the people to do that. That's a department almost to itself, but we don't have necessarily the demand for it. But it's it would be a good problem to need to add more staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to look at.
No, I agree,
And, as far as groups that are gonna rent the ballroom,
certainly.
if they, for example, one of the golf leagues.
Yes,
If they achieve certain thresholds in spending in the kitchen in conjunction with their event, maybe the rental charge would be reduced.
perhaps.
Spend more and get a better deal on the room, so, just ideas. So.
I don't hate that idea, but I think we do that with certain groups already, but I think we've been doing that so long. Even with the rates that I proposed, I think they're still more than fair, probably more fair than, again, anywhere you find them. So if we keep, discounting the rates or whatever, I don't see how that benefits us. If I'm gonna raise rates, to just discount them. But again, I would pursue that if that's something that you desire me to pursue. But I do think catering
Yeah.
is the key.
Catering, if we follow the consultant's strict rule of 3, 33%
Certainly.
cost of food, 33% for the overheads, and 33% for profit.
Correct. Well, that's what I've done with the food menu now. Again, we'll see the net results of that, so hopefully, it's a positive.
You continue to serve the best cheeseburger and fries.
We do have a really good
You're gonna
cheeseburger.
be
No
fine.
complaints about
What we
the
do offer
food.
is good, so when,
That's right. No complaints about it.
yeah.
Commissioner Brown,
The breakfast is worth it.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to talk about golfers for a moment, and that is the Monette course. Those of you who go to Monette, there's an airplane on the right and the golf course is on the left as you're going up from Cassville. Their single membership is $643. We're going to go to $9 if this is approved, $900. The Cassville course for a family is $943. I don't know how they get these odd numbers in there, but that's for a family, and ours is gonna go to $1,500, I think. One of the things we did a few years ago, there's a couple of board members, former board members in here today, 3 of them. When we had a marina disparity between Big M Marina and all this Starkey and so forth, we knew we had to go up. What we did is we had 5% raise for 5 years. And I had a boat in the marina at that time. So it was a lot better for me to afford $50 a year than $200, $250 down there at the marina. But I'm heard from some people. I don't hardly ever get calls from residents, but I've gotten calls on this one. And several of them said, why don't we go $50 a year for maybe 3 years in a row? $750 to $8, $8 to $850, $850 to $9. Now, I understand that the complaints have been for years, golf's too cheap here, we gotta raise prices, and I agree. And I agree with that of the consultant, but I think it's 20% is a lot in one swoop. The other thing is, as far as advertising, this would go for the ballroom and golf and everything. Last week, we had one of our residents say that we were allowed 2% to advertise, 2% of our total budget to advertise. And I believe she said we haven't met that. And Danny, I'd like to, if you have time, I don't know when you're going to get time to do that, but maybe the staff can look at for 2022, how much has HICID paid for billboards, newspaper advertising, any advertising at all, whether it be for the marina or the golf courses or renting the ballroom for weddings or whatever. And if we're not up to that 2%, we should be. Because in order to sell homes and to have people play golf and come and have wedding receptions at our facility, we gotta let them know that we're here. But I think the ballroom, and the last comment I have was on the rooms. I'd like to know how many weddings or rentals we've had in the ballroom. It seems to be a disappointment that we don't have this many. And maybe as Commissioner Dyer said about the serving, and I understand your staffing problems, but it just seems like that ballroom is not used for balls very often. It's used for exercising and so forth. And that brings up the small use activities. Like I play cards up there. I just put my money out and they just take it every Wednesday night. Never learned to play cards. But anyway, we pay about $25 for that little room bead on there. And then we have people that exercise upstairs. We have people that play Shanghai cards. I see some of them in here now. It just seems, because we don't have a rec center like Berryville does, Berryville and Eureka, that we need a place where small groups of people can come and do things.
I agree.
And it's $50. We have 5 guys or gals that play there. We each put $10. That's not a problem. But for some, and the singers, you mentioned the singers and other things, I think we need to make the cost, they have to raise all their money by bulletin ads for their programs, and donations. So if we have to raise golf and we have to raise a marina, okay. If you have a boat, you gotta pay for it. If you want to play golf, you have to pay for it. But I would rather see a gradual increase. Thank you.
Mr. Stamps, do you have anything?
Well, number one, I fully agree with closing
Sure,
the
right,
driving
please.
range. Oh, pardon me.
That's okay.
I fully agree with closing that driving range. I, not using good judgment, walked down there one day,
Once you get back.
and then I said to myself, you gotta go back.
That's
And,
a
yeah.
feat by itself.
But other than that, I think there's a lot of things that can be done, and I think there's, with the different organizations that we have on campus that do the advertising for Holiday Island and this kind of stuff, maybe a little guidance there. Try to work with motels in Eureka Springs, the Bed and Breakfast Association.
I think word of mouth works.
And-
That does help.
And work with them and say, hey, through the week, if you have guests up here, we will offer you can offer your guests permission to use our golf course and advertise it in that form or fashion. Maybe, I don't know if you discount anything or not, but you know, to try to get the extra play through the week.
I agree. I mean, the weekdays do represent a large void for us, but there's reasons for that. Hopefully, we're having a meeting tomorrow between the leagues where we may be able to restructure some of that to kind of benefit the golf course to where we'll have more tee time to sell. Currently, I don't have a lot of morning tee times on the weekdays to sell to people. So, to me, hopefully, we'll be able to come up with some kind of solution tomorrow with that. But currently, I can't really even offer that. If I offered them a discounted rate, they'd have to come out at 1 or 2. And if you're on vacation, you're not coming to golf at that time. That's time where you don't have 3 hours or 4 hours to spend at that. You've got to get ready for dinner at 3 or 4 if you're vacationing, you know. So I know that when I go on family trips or vacation, if we get around to golfing, it's going to be on a Tuesday in the morning, and then we're going to be grilling or whatever. You know, we're going to the store on the way back, picking up stuff on the way back. I mean, I don't know how everybody else does it, but that seems to be how I do it. I don't usually get that Saturday round in with the boys. I got other stuff. We're going to the aquarium with the kids and all that kind of stuff, doing the activities like that. So usually if you get a golf round in, if it's a family-oriented thing, it's usually squeezed in on a weekday. You know, that's just like almost, you got to just kind of squeeze it in. I've never been offered a discounted rate to do that, but I'd like that.
But if you could just get with them and say, okay, we are open to and we would welcome your guests.
Yes, certainly.
And that sort of thing, that might help. I know used
Oh,
to one of the biggest groups that we had coming was the AA. And whenever they had their convention in Eureka Springs, the Alcoholics Anonymous,
Yeah.
we got a tremendous amount of play. And beer sales were good.
I worked at Blues Brothers for a couple of years, and we would sell the airplane bottles. That weekend, we sell a ton of airplane bottles. It's like, wow.
Okay,
I know that there's.
Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner. At this point, I'm going to save the public comments until after Janice's presentation, since this question is covering all aspects of the fees. We will ask our sports complex manager, see that new phrasing, folks? The sports complex manager, Janice Murphy, to speak to the proposed swimming pool fees and proposed new rental rates for the sports complex. And then after commissioner questions, their discussion, we will go to public comments on all aspects of this question. Thank you, Lauren.
Of course, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Laura.
No, I'm sorry, sir.
It's just a comment.
No, sir. I'm sorry, sir. This is not comment time.
Well, but
We will,
You said after he.
I said after Ms. Murphy speaks, we will proceed to
This is just on the 18 hole.
we will proceed to public comments on all aspects of the question. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Janice Murphy, 7 Hillcrest Drive, also the manager of the sports complex. Okay, and I'm just going to clarify something that maybe Lauren didn't hit on. We're looking at these rates inclusive, correct? Both 9 and
Yes,
18
correct.
hole.
Yes.
We're not splitting apart the 9 and 18 hole anymore. We've got 27 holes of golf, so that's how he looked at it. Just wanted to bring that. Okay, which way do you want me to go? Swim fees or the?
Pick your poison.
Okay, I'll pick my poison. I'll go to the swim fees. You weren't able to put that up there, were you?
No, you didn't.
Okay, I have it printed, Danny has a copy. Okay. Well, I've been at the sports complex since 8, May of 2008. So I've seen everything and heard everything, and so these suggestions I'm making is just things I have gathered over all these years as far as cost and the categories. Okay, so we get to the individual pass, which means it's just simple. Only one person, property owner alone. Any other guests or family members would pay the daily fees. And that would still remain at the $100. I think for one person, that's a reasonable amount to pay. Okay, then we have family. How much capacity we have now, families or individuals, but there are individual family members, but two of them, a husband and wife, that's all that live here, husband and wife. And yet they have to pay the same rate as a family pass, which is $200, which means they're paying 2 single passes. And I've heard people say, you know, why do we pay the same as somebody who brings in 12 family members? And so I look at it this way, that the family couple is only the 2 on the deed. Any family members would pay the daily fee, and my suggestion is $150. You give them a break, okay, because it's only 2 of them, and there's nobody else going to come in from their family. If they do, they have kids living out of state, grandkids or whatever, they'll pay the daily rates. Okay, and as you know, over the years of everything here, our dynamics are changing. We don't only have retired people moving in here anymore, we have families moving in, small children families. Now, whether they're not here permanently, they still may live in Kansas, but they're coming here for extended stays, but they are dependent family members. So husband and wife, 3 kids, however, I look at family dependent, meaning you can still take them off your taxes, okay? A grown-up child who comes back to live with you, now that's totally different, that's a guest, because, or he pays the extent, you know, family member fee, because he's not your dependent. You're not writing him off, which you'd like to, but you can't. So I'm proposing another category called family dependent swim pass, which means a family dependent means a family living together can be dependent on their taxes. Adult children who come back to live at house would not be included in this pass and would pay the daily fee. That would be $200. Okay, that's included only in your household, the $200. Now, if you have these small children, you're not going to have grandkids at this point, but you may have a mom and dad. So the mom and dad would come, but they would pay the daily property owner fee unless you went and bought the next pass, which is a family extended swim pass. That means it includes the property owner and any of their children, grandchildren, and their spouses, not dependents living outside the property owner's home. And believe me, folks, I've had people come in and they have 15 family members with them. And they paid $200, like the other couple that just paid $200. The fairness of that is kind of not fair. My suggestion is those people who want to bring in all their extended family members outside the home, they would pay the $250. So you're going to go up a little bit more for the people who come in with an army. My also suggestion is the property daily family swim fee come down a little bit. $4, tax included, children 5 and under are free. Right now, I believe it's $5 a property owner. I'm suggesting we bring that down slightly. The property owner daily guest fee, the thing with this is, if you're a property owner and you have a guest and you want them to use the pool, because as we all know, these pools are private, meaning that we don't allow in people from Eureka or Cassville or anything like that. They have to be a guest of a property owner. And it gets muddled when somebody comes and says, well, I'm a guest of so-and-so, well, are they here? No, but I'm their guest. And that shouldn't be the way it should be. You should be accompanying that guest and staying at the pool and remain with them during the duration. I've had people come in and they'd say, oh, these are my guests. And they're in there 5 minutes, the property owner, and they leave. And now these people are in the pool. And technically, that's not how it's supposed to work, you know, for the way our pool is set up. So my suggestion is that they accompany the guest and remain with them for the duration. When the property owner leaves, they have to leave as well. And that would be, I'm bringing that down too because I look at it, we have a pool. We don't have a water feature, we don't have a slide, we don't have other activities around the pool for people. The people bring in their own toys and floats and stuff that other pools may not allow them to do, but they bring them in by us. I mean, little toy, you know, kids playing all that stuff, but that's okay. So I suggest that this Guest fee should be $7, tax included, children 5 and under free. $7 to me is a pretty fair price. Use of a pool for the duration without any other fun activities there, which they have to supply for themselves. So these broken down would be for the use for our property owners and their families and non-property owners. And then, and if you worry about the categories, I can get them straightened out, you know, at work as far as what to charge people and how to put them in and how to register them, so we know when they come in. That's not an issue. It's pretty easy to do. The next thing is the nightly VRBOs, Airbnbs. Last year was the first year we decided on this, and we charged the $600 per unit. Well, by charging the $600 nightly units, we sold 8. And the year before, in 2021, I gave out 67 passes, which means the 67 passes where people came to me and said, I have an Airbnb. I gave them a pass, so when the people came to their house, they brought the pass in and they paid the guest fee. There were 67 of them, and out of 67, only 8 bought a pass. People used that pass, you know, people did come in using the 8, you know, that was great. So it worked that way. But my suggestion, just knowing how many we had and how many passes we sold, I thought, okay, let's do this a little differently. So the nightly rentals, I gave choices. I would say $300 per rental unit. Per unit would be $6 daily fee per person, 5 and under are free, okay? So you're paying the $300 for your unit, people are still gonna come and pay $6 per person, 5 and under are free. Or you can go to $500 per rental unit. Guests with proof of stays up to 5 people would be admitted free. Over 5 guests would pay $6 tax per person, 5 years and over. Why I say that is some of these rental units that I had to turn away this year, which was not fun, that did buy the pass, they were standing there with a group of like 10 or 12 people. And I had to turn them all away because that person didn't buy the pass. So, and maybe some of these rental units felt, oh, that's ridiculous, I can pay $600. Okay, maybe I can agree with that a little bit, but still, no, you're making money. We're getting nothing from you, you know, other than just these fee passes. So if they're still gonna balk at the difference, you know, your guest will pay to get in, you only have to pay $3. But if you wanna pay $500, you're allowing 5 of your people to come in free. And then we tack on the $6 for the remainder of them. I mean, those are some suggestions I have, you know, just from what I hear from people, what I see happening. The last thing in the world I wanted to do was turn those people away because it doesn't look right for us here at Holiday Island. That's not very welcoming. But it was up to the individual who owned that house to make that decision. And those individuals, I said, you know, take the pool off of your site. Don't put the pool down. But of course, what sells the rental is the pools and the golf courses and the lake and all the stuff. So, you know, yes, we're in business. We'd like to, well, rec center isn't going to make any money. It's going to break even, or, you know, it's a place that people can come and have a good time and just relax. But we all still work there, and we all still have to keep it up, and the chemicals go up, and, you know, just the staffing and all that. So those were my suggestions as far as breaking down for the property owner and the suggestions for the people who are making money on their houses here.
Where would long-term rentals fit in this?
Long-term would still be a guest fee. And they would have to, the long-term is, you know, I own a house, that's my house, I'm renting it long-term, I have a year lease. I would let the rec center know that I have these people living in my house and they can use the pool as my guests. So they would come in, pay the guest fee to get in. We don't have that happening a lot because long-term rentals are usually people with a lot of kids, and they're not gonna turn around and pay $6 or $9 a person. It was a little high last year. And so we don't see many of them coming in. We really don't. It's usually, it's only basically the nightly rentals and property owners with their families.
Thank you.
Before, do we want to talk about this and then go to the, why don't you go ahead with the rentals, the barn?
Room rentals?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go ahead and get everything wrapped up here, and then we'll have our discussion.
Okay, the room rentals, I wish I would have brought that, somebody asked what we made on all these room rentals. Well, I only take care of down in the barn, the island room, which of course we're not doing the island room now, just the barn and the pavilion is what we rent down there. And I do keep a running list on an Excel program of what we took in, and I just finished it, but I forgot to bring it, anyway. So these prices haven't been increased, I'd say in the last 5 years, 6 years even. They've remained the same. The barn right now, property owner rates, $25 an hour, $175 for the day, and I accepted $80 deposit. Like he said, the deposits, we don't keep the deposits, they end up going back to the people, unless there's something really broken, or they've destroyed something completely. And I have on occasion kept some of those deposits because of that, but very rarely. So I am proposing for a property owner that the barn would go to or $200 a day with a $100 deposit, that's for the property owner. Now, when I say $30 an hour, when you get to 4 hours, anything over 4 hours is a day rate. Because I can't turn around and rent that to anybody else after that. And let's face it, you come in the evening, what would be nobody's standing there watching them leave at 10 o'clock. They're not. I mean, they're till all hours. Who knows what hours. But those are the rates for the property owner. You're only going up, $25 for the day or $5 for an hour. The non-property goes to $60, $25 for a day, $200 deposit. That's what it was in 2022, and I'm projecting or proposing $70 an hour, $400 a day, $200 deposit. Our barn gets rented mainly for casual weddings. Family reunions are big. Family reunions can go 2.5 days, a day here, a day there. That's what the popularity of that barn is, because it is in conjunction very close to the golf course, the pools. And if somebody comes and rents the barn, if they're a non-property owner and they're renting it during the time when the pool is open, I will give them the privilege of their people can use the pool, and I charge them property owner rates, and I keep track of that. And it's just a thank you kind of customer service kind of thing I do. So then we go to the pavilion. Right now it's $5 an hour. I'm projecting $10 an hour for property owner. $40 a day is what it is now, or go to $75. And the deposits are just slightly different. The non-property would be $20, would go to $30. And a property owner paid $90, or non-property paid $90 for the day. And in 2023, I'm suggesting $160. I don't know if that's that high, but I have to look at my numbers. I'm not sure if it's that high. Island room, I'm not doing anything with the island room this year yet. The numbers I projected out, for instance, right now it's $10 an hour, $75 for the day. I'm projecting $15 an hour, $135 for the day as a property owner. Non-property would be, right now it's $30 an hour, $150 for the day. I'm projecting $40 for the hour and $200 for the day for the island room as a non-property. And the small pool, when it can be used again, which would get rented out for kids for an hour, and the non-property right now is $80 for 2 hour and 2 hour minimum to go to $90 with a 2 hour minimum. Now, all these fees up here are subject to an 8% sales tax. That's 8% would go on what I've just said. Of course, I said the 4 hours minimum. After 4 hours, it's considered a day rate, except for the small pool. That would be only 2 hours. Clubs and organizations, okay. Clubs and organizations annual fee, the barn, Monday through Thursday was $108. Now these are taxes included on these prices for them. So it was 108 Monday through Thursday, and I'm projecting 118.80. That's what tax added to it, Monday through Thursday. In the barn, the only thing, I don't even think clubs, I'm trying to think of club and organization. What goes on in the barn is your line dancing and your stretch class. But those are not clubs or organizations. Those two things are a recreation center sponsored activity, because the two girls doing those things, they're all volunteers. And you know, when you think of a recreation center or what you have to offer to people, sometimes you need something that they can come and do, like stretch or, you know, or the line dancing. And they're only in there for an hour. For usage, they'd probably go away, because they're not collecting anything from these people. If in the end, they decide to take a collection and tip their volunteer that helped them do that, that's entirely up to them. And so the barn, thing that was really in the barn that I can remember, the biggest thing was the island room, is where they would rent for you know, play cards, play mahjong, you know, just do things like that. The Winers used to go in there, but then their club got too big, so they went someplace else. They went into the barn, that's right, for a while. But their fee, and the annual fee Monday through Thursday, was $81.01. That was tax included. And I'm just looking to go $91.81 when the island room becomes available to these smaller organizations. And as what has it been, how it has been in the past, like Lauren said, he doesn't charge hi-ha or him, you know, the himgas and stuff like that. Well, these clubs and organizations, if they could bring in receipts that they contributed, whether by a donation or purchase something that benefited HICID, that would be applied towards their rent. So then they didn't have to actually physically pay for it. But that's how it is. There you have it.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. I think it's almost 10:30, and I think before we get into the commissioner discussion and the public discussion on this item, let's take about a 10-minute break.
Okay.
So let's just all be back here at about 10:40. Thank you.
It's way too complicated. It really is. It's just nobody's.
It's in the computer.
Yeah, but. DNA test. Something. Yeah. Way too I think we're gonna have a lot of discussion.
Carroll County for something specific. Because
You know, as much as we're
where do I decide?
Well, Janet, I think she's over here, but I don't know, maybe Phyllis Bennett. I just looked my name at you, I just tell you to speak every day.
I'll ask, think of the chairperson and see if she'll add you to the list. Yeah, she's got a list. Is your name on there? Yes, sir. Just no check, what's the name? Sharon Waller, okay. Let me find your name here and I'll ask her. Thank you. If that'd be it right there.
I'll put you on here, and if she objects, that's totally up to her, but Four, we're on item number 4.
Well, I can handle that.
It's a long meeting, I knew it would be. You know, what I'm gonna tell, what I'm gonna ask Jazz to do, you don't need 9218 to make it 95.
Well, she's got it complicated. If I come in and jump on 1 foot 3 times,
Yeah.
I get a discount.
That's a good, that's great anyways. And then she'll need more clerks there, you know, 3 people sometimes. Well, and I think they're enough to be able to have a small pool.
Like my neighbor. The house that they live in is in these classes. Okay? So therefore, he can't go to the rec center, and he can't play golf, and he can't do this because she says he's not.
Same with Nick Roster married Helen Moran, and they moved into Helen's house. So next time she was married, she died. So he can't even go. His name's Dave.
Yeah.
They're living together. And I said, I'd have to buy a lot and over 80 a year just to get it to me. It's way too complicated.
We got it way too complicated. I told Daniel, I think before we spend money on this rec center, we need to have, we really do.
Hey, there, Danny. Come up to, well, we have a workshop in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Tuesday. Okay. Pretty thick.
But he's never told me whether he was a liberal or conservative yet.
I'm a conservative.
Okay. I have to deal with that all the time.
Right. Well, we'll have to deal with some competition.
Yeah, we will. I got a quick question, I don't want to go there quickly, but the shuffleboard, not shuffleboard, the putt golf,
It has not been maintained. I went on look at it. It's been maintained in years.
I know.
If you're gonna have that, maintain it. If you don't use it, if it's maintained.
Yeah, they're waiting out for green carpet. They got like $3,700 but if we have to, then it should be on our bill. Yeah. But what Dan is talking about, there's 2 guys, one right on the corner of the island, somewhere in the call Ken, you know, waiting. But he's in the apartment. He lives right there in that area.
Oh, okay.
Really good guy. Came here from Kuwait. Wow. We had a couple send me an email, and they play tennis, and I said, thank you for keeping the tennis for us. And they said, we're coming to a meeting, we'll meet you. And I wrote back, that's the first compliment I've ever had, somebody thank us.
Particularly important to Airbnb.
Yeah, 62, I didn't wait.
Those people, they're the golf course. They use all of it.
And they'll bring a boat, stay here a week, that's about a lot of money.
Yes, they will.
I heard, I was helping over at Echo Village and paid Susie Bell.
Can I get in?
They told me that they're going to Steamboat Springs, right? And they said it's $200 a day to ski now.
Exactly right. Whoa.
Phyllis, I was just telling Larry, I was talking to Dr. Bell a few days ago, and he's going to visit his son, Steamboat Springs, the fee for skiing is $200. I can't afford that.
I have to sit in the clubhouse and
That would be my option too.
Hot toddy, rum coke.
watch them fall down the hill.
Yeah, you know, they used to ride buses from, well, probably still do, tours out to Congress from Kansas City. And he said, well, I'll go, but I'm going to sit in the clubhouse with a book and a drink. We need this. We talked about all of this. I'm supposed to sign this and so. Hi. I can sign in. Where'd I put my sheets? Right there. And tell me your name again. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Larry, they brought 10 chairs in, but they didn't use 10 extra chairs.
They use that. Okay, they can still stack that. Okay.
Oh, I will, but we have, we're ready, so, yes, sir, I'll leave. We're just going to attend the board. How you doing? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. The fence? Yeah, I already had our people go down there and look at it, but it's not something that we can fix in-house. We just don't have the tools and stuff to do it. So, well, yeah, they did, but it didn't. Company to come and do it. Well, I had my roads manager and Warren go look at it, and they said, you know, we really don't have the stuff to fix it. I'm just gonna hire a fence company, but we'll get it fixed.
This
Yeah,
is 7.
yeah. And I understand that's what's catching the wind, and that's what's creating the force against the fence. But
you know, we'll get it fixed though, but I won't have to sub it out, I just didn't have the people. But spending time, whatever we're doing, it's too much. Daily rate, baby. But I'll get that company out here, I'm gonna let them decide how they fix it. But I appreciate you letting me know. All right, thanks.
Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. I think everyone's pretty much back and get ready to move on with our question about the fees. At this time, I would ask the commissioners if there are any comments. And if you know what you want to say, do we want to just start with Mr. Dyer and come around the corner?
Can we wait until after we hear the public comments?
That's not on the, that would be fine. Oh, you mean, do
I'd
you
like to
want?
hear the public comments before.
They
So that
might
we
like to
can-
hear ours.
Good bit.
According to our rules, we would do commissioner first.
Could we separate golf and the other fees? Golf first, maybe?
I don't think that would be a problem, to take it in bites.
Okay.
And actually, if we're going to do it that way, let's start with the rentals, because I think that's probably the easiest, that's probably the least time-consuming and the least complicated.
Good.
And so let's start with the golf facilities rentals, the ballroom, and those costs.
You want me to start?
If you're ready, if not, you can pass and we'll come back to you.
I'm always ready.
Please, and we're going to start with golf facilities.
I have no problem with what Lauren has proposed. I would say, though, just because I think as a community, we have a responsibility to promote things like book clubs and Quilters Guild and these non-revenue generating clubs. And whether we're talking about at the ballroom or at the barn or wherever, I would propose that those, or I would like to see those no charge. Somebody liked that.
Yes. Anytime you say no charge, you're going to get a reaction.
But as far as the rentals, you know, if somebody's gonna have a wedding party or family reunion or, you know, all the different things that the ballroom or the barn or the pavilion are rented for, pay the going rate.
It's, my only thought on that is you have bridge players on Monday, Friday down there. I have a little bridge group on Tuesday, Thursday, or on two Tuesdays a month. And we are currently paying the fee. How are you going to draw? I'd be happy not to have to pay the $25. Is that, are those the kind of
Effective
things?
the day we would approve it, they would no longer have to pay.
Is that, okay, I mean, I don't,
I mean, they don't generate any money and.
no, we pay it out of pocket.
Those are the kind of things, activities that bind the community together and I think we need to support it.
And I'm not objecting, I'm just raising questions.
That's all the applause you're gonna get.
Wait a minute.
I'm not sitting here with friends.
I understand.
Commissioner Childers, please.
If Lauren is telling us that these daily rates for the ballroom are commensurate to what other facilities of that type are in the area, then I don't have a problem with them. I agree with Bob, the really small usage, annual rates. I mean, I'm part of the Quilters Guild. We have been paying $65 a year and probably could continue to donate that much from this point on. But I think it's important to have those kind of small areas available for small groups to meet. As you say, that's what makes the community cohesive. That's one of the reasons I really am not happy about not having the island room available for small groups. One of the devastating impacts of COVID is that we lost so many of our active organizations.
Yeah.
And I would love, that's what draws people here. I remember seeing the calendar with all of these things going on. I want to do anything to encourage that to come back, and I don't want the daily rates for once a week or once a month usage of these smaller facilities to be an impediment to that.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost us anything to
And it doesn't generate that much either.
Yeah. Okay.
And I might take up line dancing.
Well, we'd pay to see that.
Here's an income generator.
Mr. Brown?
Why no applause for that?
Oh, Lord, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't feel that it's totally free to run those rooms. I mean, I don't think that's true. I mean, I still have to allocate somebody to come in after. And often these groups complain about the mess that's left. The next group complains about the group that was there before. So regardless of the
Okay.
situation, we still have to come in and monitor those rooms. We're heating
Okay.
those rooms. There's cost to the rooms.
Okay, okay,
So-
point taken,
Good point.
point taken.
We'll cover that.
We poker players leave it spotless,
So do the bridge, we leave it
With-
cleaner than when we
with my
left.
money left on the table. I have one comment to Janice. I know you're listening to me now. I would recommend that you make all fees the even dollar. Instead of $92.18, make it $93. Okay? You added the tax, which is good.
tax into it.
Yeah.
Instead of $80 plus 8% tax, you've got $92.18 or whatever the figures were.
yeah.
Make an even number. Make
Yeah,
it
back
$1.
into
To
it.
reverse the tax, when they see tax included, you figure out what percent then is the tax.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just give them the even.
Back
dollar.
into it, yeah.
Okay. I'm in agreement with Bob and Suzanne on the, there's not a whole lot, if you don't play golf, if you don't play pickleball, if you don't play tennis, if you don't play a lot of things, and you just go out to play cards once a week, once a month or something, we should have, with the several $1 million we have in properties here, we should be able to have a place to do those things. But I agree with Lauren, there are some costs for that, and so I would have no problem either having it free or charging them small amounts. The barn, I wanted to say something about the barn. Pat Elwood is here, and he and his wife Chris were.
Excuse me,
Not barn?
point of order. We're talking about the golf pro shop, clubhouse
Oh.
right now. We'll get to,
Okay.
we will get to the sports complex next,
Okay.
please. I'd just like to keep it all separate.
Well,
Anything else not regarding the
Yeah,
golf
I'll
aspects?
go back then to one comment about the ballroom. And that is that Barry Story, when he was pro here, and a bunch of volunteers built that nice, beautiful deck outside. You've all been there, seen it. Very seldom used, but the idea was we'd have a big wedding in the ballroom, and if the weather was okay, everybody could spill out there. Now, sometimes on the golf tournaments, they have a good turnout out there, and the Rotary has people out there on the deck. But we've got facilities that are very underused. And I would like to see, as I mentioned earlier, take a look at how much we're allowed to charge, pay for advertising, and try to bump that up to the 2% that the lawsuit allowed us to have. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Stamps?
Well, I'm trying to think of it. I agree with Bob. Number one, we owe it to the people here that pay their assessment every year, and all these things, there's money in there to be peddling and say, okay, it cost me, if I had to pick up some trash there and I had to pick up some trash there, okay, caution the people, but don't charge them. They're already paying it through their assessments. You pay $780 a year to live here in your home. Okay, you gotta have something for your money. You've got your roads, yes, we got the sewer, we got the water, but get to know one another, get to know your neighbor. And that's a good way to do that with these small groups. And they built a lot of goodwill, lots of goodwill. And hey, we can use all the goodwill we can get. And so I believe that there ought to be, exactly as Bob said, these small rooms or the ballroom or whatever, if it's being used by the property owners, the people that live here, or people that don't live here, the property owners, but we need to make it where it's free for them. The small room and all that kind of stuff, let the card players use it. They're not gonna hurt it. And yeah, we pay for the heat. We're gonna pay for the heat whether they're not. That doesn't matter. The benefit may be the fact that they go in the restaurant and get a cheeseburger or a cold beer or something of that nature. So there's benefits there. But I agree.
Thank you. So we've covered the ballroom. Let's now, apologies, Mr. Commissioner Brown, now let's talk about the facilities at the sports complex. And we'll get all of the facilities discussion out of the way, and room rental rates, and then we'll move on to.
My comment was on the barn, is Pat is here, and his wife Chris is the current president of the Friends of the Barn, and we're a 501(c) group. And over the years, I think we've been organized 12 years. I was president in 1931, I think it was. But we've raised $20,000 over that. It's pushing $25,000 doing all kinds of fundraisers to build new windows and insulate that place, paint it, and so forth. So I want to thank the Friends of the Barn for that. Just like HIHA, those are the two, and HiPro and so forth, two of the three main groups that earn money and put it back into HISIP and properties. I don't have any problems with some of the room rentals or any of the room rentals. They're just pretty fair. And I've never had to rent a room over in Eureka, but on one occasion my friend did, and that was quite a bit more for a size like the ballroom, way more. So I'm fine with that now.
Okay. Any other comments on the facilities at the sports complex?
From my perspective, I think the fees that Janice proposed are very legitimate, and I will say for people who expected us to fall in line and follow all the recommendations of the golf consultant, when he talked about the barn, his recommendation was that we completely renovate it and turn it into a high-end steak club.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and,
It didn't work.
That probably cost us $1 million just in physical transformation, and then to get y'all to come down there and spend $50 a steak, so.
Now
why
that you
we're
bring
not
that up, I will say for the record, no one on the board has ever suggested we were going to take Mr. Coleman's book and call it a Bible or call it a done deal. Our intention all along was to pick and choose things that we knew had to be fixed anyway and use it for a guideline. Look at a few things that we could do cheaply, like prospectively closing the driving range, which would enhance our revenue in other areas. And it was never anyone's intention to follow that plan directly. nor to hire Mr. Coleman for any services. And anybody else on the facilities? Larry?
Okay, yes, I do. What is being proposed to rent the barn in 2023 at $30 an hour, or $200 a day? That's 7 hours.
I wish it could be 7 hours,
That-
but, you
that-
know, people come in there and pick up a key at 9 o'clock in the morning and we're gone and they drop it in a box. They could be there 12 hours, for all
Well,
we know.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, most things are not gonna last 7 hours. I mean, you're not gonna stay in that barn 7 hours.
Family reunions.
They do.
Yeah. And then for non-property owner, it's 4 hours. The pavilion is 7 hours. Non-property owner, it's like 5 hours, a little over 5 hours. I think the hourly rate needs to be adjusted.
Higher,
Yeah,
raised.
yeah. The higher rate, if you're gonna use the Barn Steakhouse, instead of $30 an hour, make it $35 an hour or $200 a day. Because they're not gonna use it 7 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about somebody who rents, you know, like a property owner or a non-property owner, they're renting it, they plan on being there through into the night. I mean, that's what this barn gets rented for.
Okay.
It's a long, they're full days or even over into the next day kind of things. So,
Are they
yeah.
paying for 2 days?
Yeah, if they go to the next day,
Well,
somebody says
that
they
would
wanna
be the,
clean up,
that would be the fair thing for
that
them
would
to
be the
do.
4 hours.
Yeah.
If they're there for the one day, they're having a wedding, they come in, decorate, they do everything.
What I'm trying to say is, Janice, if you'll let me talk for a minute, please, is if you're gonna do $30 an hour,
Right.
make it where it's more feasible to do the $200 a day. Okay, so if you take the 30 hours a day and make it 35, that cuts it down a few hours. And if you're going to go over that, it would be to your benefit to rent it for the day.
Yeah, I see the logic of what you're saying.
And that way you don't
Yeah.
have to sit down and say, okay, you had it for 7 hours and 30 minutes or whatever. Don't micromanage everything to death. Make it a fee that they say, okay, we're probably going to use it more than that. So therefore, let's just go ahead and pay for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if we plan on an hourly rate and then we decide that we're gonna need more time while you're getting ready, before you sign your agreement with you, that's part of the discussion is,
Okay, what we'll rent for 4 hours is like, since we don't have the island room, okay? You got these townhome little associations that need to have an annual meeting. They've been going to the barn, okay? And they will pay for 4 hours, because I know they're gonna be there from 8:30 to 10:30. Now, you have somebody comes in and says, we're gonna do a wedding or a family reunion or something, it's an automatic day. I'm not counting hours on that. But if they, but see, in a day rate, when that one day, they have to clean up, get rid of all the garbage, wash the floors, blah, 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 in that day. If they say, you know, we're really gonna be tired, we'll come back the next day in the morning, so now I charge them another 4 hours for that time. But when they're renting it for a day, it's a day rate. I mean, that's a gimme, but it's when somebody just says it's just a small meeting, and we'll only be in there for an hour, so they get charged for the 4 hours, minimum. So I don't know if that's what Larry was talking about, I just can't understand, but, you know, that's how I do room rentals. I don't micromanage it, because I give them a key, and I know they're gonna be done when we're gone, so they're the drop box. You know, that key goes in there, I have no idea when they're leaving, so.
okay. Thank you. Lauren, did you have another comment?
Well, this is not necessarily in regards to the barn, but Mr. Brown was talking about these card groups that play in the evening. We distribute them a key to the facility. you know, you think that should be a no-charge event? To me, I find that odd if we're distributing a key to somebody that they have access to our facility that we don't charge. There's no liability there at all. So, I mean, I'm not saying that this happened, but I mean, there's a chance that they leave the facility unlocked. So, you know, I guess I'm kind of, I think some of this stuff, you know, with the cleaning stuff, I think some of this stuff, you might want to revisit this more, like,
We can-
closely before you make any
Yeah.
decisions based on what I'm hearing right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner discussion on the facilities?
May I?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I mean, we've bounced all around on that, but ultimately I have to prepare this fine schedule here, so I just want to clarify what is the pleasure of the board for those daily rates. Right now, it's 30 and 70, property owner, non-property owner, for the barn. For the barn. Commissioner Stamps recommended we change that.
My personal opinion is the schedule as Janice proposed is okay with me. Just, this is not a formal vote, but an indication to you.
I don't really care one way or the other. I just think
Okay.
that I would rather pay the $30 than pay $200.
The numbers guy in, you got caught up. Okay, so that's.
The only thing that I would mention, and this is not about the barn, I think that Lauren has a valid point about the small rooms requiring some maintenance after groups have been there. Groups in Holiday Island are used to paying that. I can tell you, I've belonged to Quilt Guild, we're used to $65 a year, which is a nominal amount. I think we ought to at least leave the existing rates as they are. So that there's
There's
a
some
little
income.
income to help offset the cost of custodial services.
I agree with that.
Or charge a
The
deposit.
annual. Pardon?
Or charge a deposit.
Yeah.
If they don't leave it clean, they don't get their deposit back.
It's probably easier just to get the $65 a year, knowing that most of
Yeah.
us that use it try and leave it pretty clean anyway. I mean, it'd be a real unusual circumstance. Now, how about the $500 then for the annual ballroom? Or about how many people, what groups do you have in there annually now, Lauren, that pays the $100?
In the small rooms or the ballroom?
The ballroom?
We have the singers, I believe the art guild. I've been charging HIMGA and ILGA and the leagues the annual fee because they utilize the ballroom a couple times for their luncheons or whatever. And then basically that's it. The other organizations, TIHA and HIFTA, obviously we're not gonna charge the fire department anything, but we don't charge them
Right.
for their usage of the rooms. But really, there's not that many. Go ahead, Pat.
Can I make a comment? That's not true. Because we always get a letter, unless they've changed it, PIHA gets a letter every year that they owe X amount, and we write a letter back saying, this is what we've contributed
Right,
in lieu
right.
of that. And they waive
Okay.
it. Just for the record, they waive it, we don't get it. for free.
Thank you, and that was a point that
And
I was
same
trying
with
to.
FOB.
Okay, no, we're not ready for open discussion. We are talking with the manager.
That's fine.
And that it has been the policy or the practice all along was that these individuals can basically trade some type of service. And do
For
you,
use of the room.
for the use of the room, and do you intend to leave that in place?
I mean,
Or do we intend to leave that in place?
yeah, that would be the question. I mean, I think there is a benefit to that. I do think that there is kind of it's a double-edged sword sometimes. where
Everything
they
is.
make some donation and then they feel like they run the room. And that can be, from time to time, a thorn in my side, but at the same time, we appreciate their contributions.
That can be
So,
managed.
Right, correct. I think that's fine as far as my perspective. I don't see any reason to necessarily change that. So-
Okay, well, that being the case, commissioners, do we want to leave the ballroom fee for annual use for the limited number who do that at $100. I mean, there's no point in marking it up to 5 if everybody's gonna work it off anyway.
Right.
And the little rooms too. The small-
Yeah, we already talked about the little rooms, yeah.
Yep, let's do that.
Okay,
They'll all stay the same?
yeah, Mr. Presley.
Yes.
Just leave them on.
Yes, ma'am.
The annual rates
That's good.
for the ballroom and rooms A and B will remain at the 2022 level.
Excuse me, does that go for Hilga and Himga?
We're not having open conversation. Hinga, yes.
They just follow.
Golf leagues were included in that.
Okay.
Golf leagues were included in that.
Okay.
All right.
I do disagree, but I'm not voting.
Why do you disagree?
Well, it wasn't a vote, it was an indication.
No, I mean, everybody else wants to leave it the way it is, and that was my point in the beginning, that, you know, some of these small nonprofit groups should get to use
It's-
our facilities at no charge.
And as Commissioner Childers mentioned, we're used to paying that and don't have a problem with making a contribution to the community either, speaking for the folks I'm with.
I can't win all the time.
You can try.
thought it was a good idea.
Okay, now, as, I have people asking to speak, and I'm going to poll you first and see if you want to address the facilities. And then we can go back to those that want to talk specifically about the fees for other things. So, Angelique Geyer, what did you want to address specifically?
Just what you were discussing about the fees for like the singers and so forth.
Please come to the podium and give us your name and your address, please.
Anjali Geyer, 24 Deer Run Drive. And I just wanted to say an appreciation, thank you for your indications of what you're thinking, because like for the singers, I'm not on the board of the singer or anything like that, but this year we had our director have a heart attack, and we weren't able to even do any production, you know, so we can't even afford new music for the next season. So $500 would probably wipe us. It's like, and that's just as a member. I'm, like I said, I'm not on the board, I don't know about the details. But I do know that we had to reuse, we couldn't buy new music, so.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that. And also, you know, it's a nice idea to be able to have the facilities integrated as a perk for living here. And I'm fine with whatever we have to pay currently, but if we're the only ones using it other than this one other group, we're like, you're charging us $500, you know.
Got it.
And we're the only ones, so. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geyer.
In response, I mean, I would have that space to rent to other individual day use groups. at that
Okay,
point.
but I appreciate that. Can we speak, or is it?
No,
Okay.
no, thank you.
I appreciate this point, but if we're the only two that are in there being used, then, you know, if we need to get bumped, we can talk about it.
Okay, all right. Mr. and Mrs. Durbin, on tennis, is that in regard to the facilities or the fee schedule? Did they leave? I guess,
They did.
I don't see them. Well, that took care of that one.
Wow.
Mr. Elwood, do you want to talk about facilities or fees?
Golf fees specifically.
All right, we'll move you to the next section. Sharon Lawler, what did you want to address, please, ma'am? Okay.
Okay, Sharon Lawler, 19 Table Rock Drive. I'm also part of the Holiday Island Singers, and wanted to thank you so much, Commissioner Goddard, for your heart about that. But also to just reiterate what she said, that the moving that fee from 100 to 500 we would not be able to use the facility. It's just that bad. We couldn't even buy new music this year. So thank you very much for your consideration. I think we're okay with 100 a year, but yeah, we can't do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Ken Mills, Mr. Mills, did you want to talk about the fee schedule?
No.
Or the facilities? Okay. All right, so then let's move on to the actual golf.
Phyllis, I signed up, Pete, did you miss my name?
Maybe. I had you as a maybe.
Okay, can I speak?
Sure, what do you want to talk about?
facilities.
Oh, let me get one more in here, please, before we start. Paul Gebhardt, did you want to speak about fees? Okay, we'll put you in the next section. Thank you.
Okay, Linda Graves, 29 Table Rock Drive. I just wanted to make a small comment. I do rent the barn every year, and I think the raise that Janice suggested is perfectly justified, and it shouldn't be a problem. And we rent for about 3.5 days for a family reunion. And we collect money from people to pay for it. So.
You have a good one.
Huh?
You have a good family.
Yes, you came this last year, didn't you?
Yes. Had a ball.
The other thing I had a question about was, if Janice had mentioned an 8% tax. How do you get 8% when our sales tax in this area is only 6.5%? Seven.
It's a rental tax.
Oh, it includes a rental tax.
Yes, so we have to do it on facilities and our golf carts.
Does that go to the county or the state, or do you know?
State.
We don't know.
Okay.
Mr. Prem, state.
It goes to the state, and they have different rates for tourism and
Okay.
normal sales tax and various other things. That excise tax is very complicated, but it does all go to the state.
I was just curious.
Have some point of order, please.
I also wanted to speak about what Commissioner Dyer had said, I believe, or the conversation with Lauren about having a caterer or something, being able to cater events, and maybe ensuring that people bought food when they rented the ballroom and was having a meal served. I think that is something that we definitely should consider. And even if it means making arrangements with local caterers that you could do on a contract basis and negotiate rates, and then you kind of split the profit on the food somehow equitably between the person that's actually preparing the meals and you're maybe helping them with the purchase of food or something like that. But I think you could find plenty of caterers in Eureka, maybe Holiday Island. We use one that's really good for the fire department auxiliary meals that I use for my event in the barn every year. And I think that's something that maybe should be considered. The other thing that was mentioned was the use of the deck outside the ballroom. You're right, that deck does not get used hardly at all. And largely, it's my opinion, that it doesn't get used because it's not covered. Originally, Barry Story, when he was here, had purchased some overhead canvas, I think they called them flags or something, that were to be attached to cover the deck in a certain arrangement. I don't think that ever worked very well, at least when I was trying to sit under them. You know, it left large parts of the deck uncovered. But that may be something worth thinking about in order to get better use of that during the daytime. You can use it in the evening when it's dark, but not sitting in the sun. So if you were to cover that deck somehow with some arrangement, I've seen flags used in better fashion than what was set up for that deck originally at various resorts, where they're kind of, you know, done this way. But so that deck could be used if it had some covering. So I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Graves. We will now talk about the fee schedules for starting with the golf course, and then we'll move on to the fee schedules for the swimming pool.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, ma'am.
Since we're dealing with so many numbers in different directions, might it be prudent to go ahead and make a motion to accept the facility fees now before we go to the other fees, so we can get this out of the way?
I don't have a problem with that. I'm trying to stick to Robert's Rules of Orders. And,
You do it your way, it's just a suggestion.
If we won't get in trouble, that would have been my preference anyway.
I thought it might be easy.
I'm a newbie at this, so I think that's an excellent suggestion. So let me go to this. We have had commissioner comments, we have had public comments. Are you ready for the question? Have we discussed the fees? Janet?
When you said to accept his club and organizations as they were in 2022, am I leaving the barn and the island room in the 2022 rates for the clubs and organizations?
I thought the barn was up, it increased, and we all agree with that.
Well, that would be for the property owners and the non-property owners. I'm talking going back down to the bottom where it's the barn
Clubs and
annual fees for
organizations.
the clubs and organizations.
I would think that's fair.
Leave
Yes.
it alone for the
Leave it
clubs and
alone.
organizations. Keep that.
You
Okay.
got that, Danny?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if we're gonna leave one set alone, we can leave the other set alone also. Any further discussion from the commissioners? Are you ready for the question? The question is the adoption of the amended golf and pool facilities rentals. The facility rental fees for 2023, only the facility portion of the question. All those in, may I have a,
I'll move for that.
okay. All those in favor say aye.
Second.
Do we
Yeah,
need, do we need a motion to split this apart? I don't think we do.
Now,
But I
that was
think
with the
we-
changes made?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we need to clarify the changes that are made in the motion.
Need a second, please.
Well, let's start over. We have a motion on the table to discuss the fees and the whole aspect of fees and rentals. At this point, we are going to look at the facility portion of the rental agreement. And are we okay with you, Mr. Presley, with what the new facilities portion is? Not the golf fees, but just the room rentals on the barn and the clubhouses, the clubhouse.
Yes, ma'am, and if I may, it's as these pages were presented, with these exceptions, the ballroom will remain at 100 for the annual rate. Room A and Room B will remain at $65 and $25. And the clubs and organizations rate for the barn annual fee and island room annual fee will remain the same as in 2022, with one exception. I intend to round those numbers to an even amount. And what I have written here is $110 for the barn annual fee and $80 for the island room annual fee.
I think that sounds right.
That sounds right to me.
Everybody in agreement with those numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, that being the case, the question is the adoption of the amended golf course and sports complex facility rental fees. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is passed. The motion carries, the ayes have it, and we will implement these new facilities rates when the interested parties can get them posted. So now we are going to go back and address the fees for the golf course and for the swimming fees. So let's start with the golf course fees as presented by Lauren. Too many pieces of paper here. Rubens is done. And did anyone have any questions on the presentation of the golf rates Any commissioner comments on the golf rates?
Well, I mean, mine, thought it would be, should be a little less each year for maybe 3 years, but, I'll listen to some of the public comment, commissioners' comment about what they feel. I do feel they've been low and they need to go up, not to the extent of the golf
Well,
consultant.
and nothing, nobody's paying any attention to the golf consultant, I can assure you of that. These are fees that were arrived at as reasonable rates, and part of the committee that Lauren got together to discuss this included golfers and managers, department managers who have an interest in the club and have a good feel for what the market will bear. And so it was with that in mind that we came up with no, I shouldn't say we, but the committee came up with the numbers that are proposed. And I don't have a problem with them as stated here. Anyone else? Any further, any? Mr. Stamps? Nope.
No problem.
You know, when I look at the fees that are proposed, people that buy annual passes, first of all, 5 times a week.
3 times a week for me.
And if,
It's
say there
still
was
cheap.
some bad weather sometime during the year, and you were only able to do that 40 weeks, times 5.
Yeah.
I mean, at $900 for an annual individual pass, it's still a really good deal.
Yeah.
And I think it addresses a real need. I mean, we've got to get real about the fact that our golf course, through, everybody is very frugal, everybody, but it's still consuming a lot of our revenues, and we have to address it. And Ken, I appreciate your comment about the 5% rather than 20, but 5% won't even take a nibble out of
Doesn't
what
cover
we need to
inflation.
accomplish. And
Oh, yeah.
I came from a town in Iowa, and we lived on a golf course and belonged to the club, and we paid $340 a month, plus we were supposed to pay $100 or spend $100 every month in their clubhouse restaurant.
It's not a country club.
Well, it says country club.
Let's, point of order.
No, that wasn't a country club either, but I mean, it was a membership thing like we have here, Ken, and I support these fees.
All right. I will now call on,
I thought that Susan made a motion that the commissioner's comments follow the public comments.
she did, and we disagreed with that.
Oh, okay.
It's your turn. It's your turn now.
And Pat, I still think they're wrong, but I'll check later.
I'm always wrong.
Right now, the discussion from the commissioners is completed, and we will take public comments from those who signed up to speak. And we have a duo, Mr. and Mrs. Pinkley. I don't know if you have a designated spokesman or you want to. Wait, just a minute, Janet, please. Please come to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm only going to take a minute. This is Janet Pinkley, 25 Lacosta Drive. My question was, I think I got a clarification on it, was the facilities, but you didn't have me down to speak. But am I under the understanding that Hilga and Himga will get a reduced rate on the rental? Because we are paying for catering too, when we have these twice-a-year meetings.
No, that's not the
So
reason.
we would have to pay the full 500?
No, number one, it was reduced to 100.
Okay, then we're okay. That's
Okay.
my clarification.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you, Janet, Ms. Pinkley. Mr. Pinkley?
Yes, my name's Doug Pinkley. We live at 25 Acosta Drive. I'd like to iterate just a little bit of, we moved here in November 4th of 2020. We bought our house in April, right before the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to get here and get things lined up. And you know, we went to the Lake of the Ozarks in January, I think it was January 20th. And we rented a condo for 45 days. And we traveled the whole Lake of the Ozarks. Lake of the, every day, we went with realtors. We went from the Ozarks to Table Rock, all the way to Huntsville, and all the way, and you know, we found the house, we found a lot of houses. We liked a lot of them. Some of them were on the lake, some of them were, you know, in our price range, some were out of our price range. But we needed two things. We're gonna retire here. We live here year-round. We built a new garage here, a 2,000 square foot garage, and we needed more room. And, you know, we looked at two things. We needed a golf course, and we needed someplace to fish. And, you know, we found it. That's why this is called Holiday Island Paradise. You don't realize how good you've got here. I want to iterate for a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. I was on the board for 20-some years in the town that I came from. I was mayor for 8 years. I was on the Natural Resources District Board for 4 years. That had to be split between the town council. We made a 25 to 30-year plan. Every little town down the road was going busted. Every business was moving out. Our town was 500 people. We decided, you know, we need a long-term plan to make this thing work. Being the youngest guy on the board ever in the whole history of Lee, Nebraska, nobody wanted to listen to me because I didn't know anything, you know, just a young kid. You know, so finally people listened and we made a plan. We said, we're not going to get a facility, we're not going to get a manufacturing place in here, so we are a farming town. Everybody that moved off the farm, the kid took over the farm, Dad moved to town, and eventually Dad died, and then we had a problem with a lot of empty houses, old houses. So we decided we need a plan to build more housing. But we aren't going to get people to move to town. This is the Holiday Island. We aren't going to get them to move here if we don't have housing. But we also got to have something to draw. We had 2 towns, 35 miles away, pretty good sized towns. So what we did was we said, okay, we need to have a lake. What's that?
You only have 5 seconds left.
Okay. All right, but I support the,
I like your story.
but you know,
My 2 minutes.
you know,
Doesn't work that way.
you know, it comes back to, we as a city, we built a lake, we built a golf course, and we built a new housing project. And you know what? You people have got it all here. All we've got to do is, you know, if it's not working for the thing we need to maybe alternate the course a little bit. Pre-plan a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkley, your time is up.
We can talk later about this.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for your kind words. Mr. Elwood.
I need 4 minutes.
Nope.
Well, thank you.
You're gonna get 3.
Okay.
Give him 2.5.
Well, I made notes so I wouldn't forget anything, and I didn't bring my glasses, so I'm gonna have to bring them. I've had Elwood 14 Holiday Island Drive. I'm gonna talk about the 2 kinds of memberships we've got. I'm really concerned you're gonna shoot yourself in your foot. Last time we had a big increase in membership, the membership went down as much as the increase went up. Here's the thing, looking at your golf report, I think he's using the wrong numbers for one thing. He says the average golfer plays 70, member plays 70 plus. I know at least 12 people that play 200 plus. If 12 people play 200 plus, then the average may be 70, but the median is probably 40 or 5. That's the group that you're going to lose when you increase the membership. Not those of us that play a lot of golf, those of us that are marginal. And if you lose 10%, then a 20% increase in your fees isn't going to mean anything. So I'm kind of with, hate to agree with Commissioner Brown, but I'm kind of with Commissioner Brown 5% at a time. The family membership may be even worse. We've got a family membership here with the demographics. Family means 2. Not always, but in a lot of cases with golf, it means 2. I play 70-plus rounds of golf a year. Chris probably plays 30. At least 5 of those are in charity events where she has to pay the full price anyway. We're certainly not going to keep a family membership. It's convenient, we're spoiled, I know we're spoiled, I love it to go up to the clubhouse and sign us in, we're playing. But if you do the economics, there's no way a family membership makes sense to us. If it doesn't make sense to us, it's not going to make sense to a lot of people, which means you're going to lose a family membership. You probably still have an individual membership, but you're going to lose that gap. So that's what I'm worried about. As far as outside play, I don't have the statistics to know if that's appropriate or not. I am disappointed I wasn't on the committee. We'll leave that for another time. I do want to thank all the commissioners. I've been on boards, I've been on the school board. Whatever you do, somebody's not going to like it. It's tedious, it's boring. I appreciate your work, but I don't agree with it. So there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood.
Continue to call me mister. We're gonna.
Well, we're,
Some 20 cents.
Uh-oh,
That's all right.
Bend your ear another time.
Mr. Mills. Thank you.
What?
No, Too late, you lost your chance.
Overruled. Ken Mills, 20 Rocky Top Circle. Pat brought up a very good point. My wife and I have a family thing now, and I pay $1,200 this year. I paid probably 15, 20 times. I will not go and pay $1,500. I will buy one for my wife who plays all the time, and I will go on a per fee. And you're gonna find this is gonna have. I was on a board for a long time, and a lot of us bought the family membership cards and everything because it's convenient. You didn't have to worry about it. You didn't have to pay. But if you sit down and do the economics, it doesn't work.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Eddy, did you wish to speak on this?
No.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss up my notes. Mr. Gebhardt?
Paul Gebhardt, 3106 Highway 62 West, Berryville. I'm not a property owner here. I buy unlimited golf with a cart. I've been doing that for the past 8 years. The first year, it was about $1,300. This last year, it was $1,800. I live about 3 miles from Carroll County Country Club. I could play unlimited golf this coming year there for $1,350. So don't price me out. And I have other friends that are in the same boat.
Thank you, Mr. Gebhardt. That concludes the discussion portion of the golf fees. Do we want to go over, let's go over that and then we'll get to the swim fees rather than load up with too many numbers. See, we did not make any changes to the proposal that Danny, so we're okay with the rates that have been recommended by the golf committee. So are we ready for the question? The question is the adoption of the amended golf course fees for 2023 as presented during the discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
We need a motion.
We have a motion to bring it. We don't have. We don't need a motion.
I'm sorry.
We don't need the motion to vote.
Before I interrupted, you said
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the new golf course fees will begin immediately. Okay, now let's move to the swim fees. The cart fee was passed, was approved 2 weeks ago. was set,
Yeah.
set and approved 2 weeks ago.
At that special meeting.
Yeah. Moving to the commissioner comments with regard to the swim fees. And,
Madam Chair, I think the golf fee, I think the only one we approved on the cart fees was $210 to $250 for a trail fee. I don't know if we approved that special meeting, the other fees, did we?
That is all we approved at the special meeting because the clubhouse was starting to get requests to pay that fee. So we approved that one individually. We have now voted unanimously for the rest of the fees as they were presented.
Including the rental cars and so forth?
Yes, everything.
All right.
Everything on the golf, again, with exception to whatever we decide to do, whatever decision is made on the punch cards, but the punch cards will be at full price anyway. On the individual swim pass, my only comment is that the family dependent and the family extended gets pretty convoluted for $50. I understand the thinking and the use of the pool and the number of people who are going to be using it, but I think it makes it, I mean, with my question.
You mean, how do you know who would come in on it?
Yeah, how do you know whose children, grandchildren, spouses, dependents? I mean, it kind of involves, to me, that kind of involves a lot of questioning of property owners.
Well, when they buy a pass, we have a form, okay, and on the form, it's like, if you're gonna have extended family.
Would you come
members-
over to the, come to the microphone, please, for this? And we are asking for some clarification.
When we have somebody who buys a pass, obviously an individual is the only person in our computer, it will put down that they bought an individual pass. And when we pull up their name every time they come in to list them that they're coming in, we see it's an individual and there's nobody else that can come in with them without paying for a fee, whether it be a family fee or a guest fee. The family couple would, over the years, I pretty much know everybody that comes into the pool. So, if I know they're a couple, they would have to buy it that way and it would go into the computer that way. So if they brought somebody with them, again, the same thing. When you have a family dependent within the household, and they choose to buy that, we have another form that if they turn around and bring other people with them, a mother, father, and I'm talking about somebody who has young children, okay? And we know mostly who they are too. But if they were to bring in a mother or father or something, they would fill out this form, okay, this is my mom and dad. If they come in with us, they pay the additional cost. The extended family, we've had those forms forever. And you can put 25 people on this form. And believe me, some people put all those names in. So, are you saying that you don't think it's enough money between
No,
the two?
I just thought it was, part of what we tried to do on the other fees with combining golf courses was
Right.
streamline it into.
Right.
But if this isn't,
Simplify.
if you don't have the ability to streamline it, that
Yeah, and I don't think this is overly taxing as far
Okay.
as, our operation down there. It's just, you get a little bit more for the people who have a lot of family members,
Okay.
children, grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and their spouses. The only thing it doesn't cover is nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, brothers, or sisters. So you've got a big span out there of people. But
Okay.
it's not crazy for us to do that down there. I can figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask Janice a question?
You want to just hang out?
I'll hang out, yes.
Janice, the older I get,
Yes.
the more I find the need to follow the principle of KISS.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid, yeah.
And truly, this is the most convoluted thing. I understand you folks you're the experts, you work around this every day, and you understand it. But, I've had people ask me, how much does it cost to swim?
I have no clue.
Hell, I don't know.
Well,
Depends on
well, I don't
what are
think
you
you,
renting, what are
okay.
you owning, what are you know, it's too complicated. What if we, now this is just a what if we said, folks, if your name's on the deed, you can buy $100 annual pass.
If your name is on the deed,
If your name isn't on the deed, I don't care who you are, $5. You wanna swim?
Whoa.
Pay $5.
that won't
I
make any
realize,
money.
Commissioner Dyer, I don't get a vote, but if I could get a vote, I would vote for that. Because I have to run this thing day to day, and prepare these schedules and work with Janice and all of that. And Janice, you do most of the work down there. But I've had people ask me, what does it cost to get in the pool? And let me get back to you on that. I had to make some phone calls and
Janice,
it's difficult.
answer this honestly.
Sure.
When you or your staff
Mm-hmm.
have had a rub,
Complaints or whatever.
complaint or conflict
Yeah.
with a customer, a property owner, a resident, what's it always about?
It's about who gets in for what.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
But I will
You
al-
folks don't need that kind of grief.
Okay, but I'll also add that to you, this one thing, and I think I've put that to Danny too, is that we are a Class B pool,
Exactly,
okay? So we have no lifeguards.
right.
And when you don't have a lifeguard, you fall into that Class B
And
thing.
I'm not proposing
Right.
abandoning those rules.
Right.
You'd still have to be a property owner or a long-term rental or, comply with.
Long-term rental is not a problem.
But this would eliminate all the, what do I pay?
But you know what we came across, you're talking about somebody's name on a deed? This goes back when we had COVID, and it was people had to come in, only the people on the deed got in. That lived
I
here,
know,
she wasn't on the deed.
I know.
I had to go out to the pool and tell her, I'm sorry. What? I mean,
Oh, I know.
so when you talk about the deed things, I'm gonna get that, because some guy puts a name on it and put her name on it, I
The
mean,
deed, all I'm talking about is the ability to buy a season pass.
the ability to buy
And-
season pass is the
Some
property.
lady
owner.
chooses not to have her husband's name on the deed for whatever reason.
No, a property owner can buy a pass, okay? You come in and buy a pass. You can buy an individual just for yourself, or you could buy
Yeah.
the couple pass,
Yeah.
you and your wife, or you have grandkids that come eventually, and you wanna bring them, So, but then you buy the extended family if you want, or you pay them individually. It's not as complicated as.
It's
And-
real complicated to us normal people.
I don't
that
know why.
hang
I
out
don't
with
know
the
why.
You invented it.
I know.
Okay.
But I agree with you.
Well,
I have a neighbor who is not on the deed.
Yeah.
If the deed is in a trust. Where does that
A lot of
go?
things with the deed. Yeah.
This deed thing, if they're living in the house, they're paying, they belong, we should have, the deed thing shouldn't be so critical.
I
It should
agree.
not be
I agree.
so critical. That, if they're a family, a couple
A
living in the
partnership.
house, they
Well-
can get a family rate for golf, for whatever.
Well, I
And
just,
that's the way it should be.
and then these prices were to kind of make it, a couple, is gonna pay 200 or 250 or what, I mean, I was going by just breaking them
Attention,
up. So, a couple who comes in all by themselves is gonna pay the same as somebody who brings in 12 people, relatives. And is that really fair? That was why I broke it up a little bit more,
Yeah.
to make it more, somebody who maybe just as a couple that lives at home, and they said, why are we gonna go for two of us? Well, here, you just go swim and I'll pay $100. Because in essence, they're paying two individual fees. It's not really, but, I mean, these were my suggestions. It's not as complicated to me as it is to you guys. But,
Well, and it is. you
It
know.
is.
Kids.
So
keep
let's,
it
let's,
simple.
let's,
Because this bleeds over into golf and everything else down there. And it's a bone of contention,
Well,
and the people don't like it.
Nope,
And I've had several complaints.
I have as well, and that's why I brought it up. And,
well, let's, what would your suggestion be with regard to this? The individual and the couple, partnership, live-in, significant other, whatever you want to call it,
well,
counts for 150.
That's exactly
those
right.
two passes, the individual and the family couple, I mean, if people want to buy those annual passes, I think that's good. But I don't think we need all that stuff beyond that.
The family couple is for two, period.
Right.
Don't go any further.
Yeah. And $5
Don't worry about the
to
deal.
go into a nice swimming facility is a bargain. And we need to do everything we can to encourage people throughout Holiday Island to use this family facility.
So your suggestion would be a flat fee for all swimmers?
Except for these people that are in the Airbnbs and.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. So the property owner themselves might want a swim pass because it's available every day. So they would buy an individual or a couple pass. Over and above that, when your 5 grandchildren come in, it's gonna cost you $25 every time they swim.
Yep.
Well,
Take them over to Cashville, you could pay a lot more than that.
So you buy the family swim pass for $200 and anybody else should bring in $5 a day? Is that what you're saying?
No,
I said by the couple.
no, we just
Or
stopped
the-
at couple, individual and couple.
Individual, couple, and then
So,
so you have no family?
Here's the, to pick on Bob.
Okay.
Bob and Mary have their grandchildren and their extended family here. If I'm understanding right, you and Mary would buy a $150 couples pass. And then any guest that you bring with you, which technically they are guests, would pay a flat fee of $500. Or $5. Or $4.
And we do
You know,
that now.
and we can massage that number a little bit, whether, if you make it $4.
Yeah, $4 for a family member or seven for a guest.
There we go, making it complicated though. We can't, we
You
don't
want
need
one
that.
fee?
May I ask one?
Yes.
If we follow that same logic, then we could really simplify the rental property. This is just my recommendation to the board, is that we go to $305 per person.
That's fine.
And then everything is $5 per person.
Yeah.
We have individual, couple, and a rental property, and $5.
I'm sorry. Family couple, that's 2. What if they've got children?
$5.
They pay $5 a piece for their kids?
Even,
Ah.
I mean, even the.
Little kids?
Well, under
That's-
5 is free.
Under
Under
5.
5 is
$5 is
free.
free.
Okay, well, what if
And-
he's 10?
Or 4. You know, that's, I'm just throwing the numbers out,
I
just.
think there should be a family pass, with children.
I don't go along with have a family pass and bring in 25 kids. either.
No, they don't have 25 kids
Mr.
living
Eddie,
in the house.
we will have public comments, please.
Yeah.
Let's keep our.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's okay, we want to keep our order of business. Do you understand where we're coming from?
I understand where you're coming from. So you're saying for an individual, somebody who lives by themselves like me, if I had a pass, it'd be $100. Then you go down to a family, a couple, husband and wife moved here, retired, okay? Then we go with the 150. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Then you still need a family pass. Or no, you're gonna stop at the couple, and if they bring anybody in with them, family members would be, $4 a person is what I put down for a property owner.
I said 5.
You said 5?
4 is fine.
I mean, that would be 4 with tax included, And that would be anybody over 5.
Right, so if
Okay.
my daughter comes to visit,
If your daughter comes to visit,
she
she
would
come
pay,
in,
I'll pay $4 because I don't have a pass, but.
you pay $4, and you pay $4 as a property owner.
Okay.
Okay, so you're completely and getting rid of the family dependent. In other words, a family moves in, they have 3 kids. They can't buy a pass every time they come, they buy the couple for $150, but then they're gonna charge $4 every time they bring their kids in, which is like another $12.
Well,
How many
Why don't we-
people, how many of those families
turn your
do
mic on,
buy
Mike.
an annual pass?
A lot,
Do they?
yeah. I mean, okay, let me see if I got my numbers.
Why don't we take a family couple, do away with the family couple, and do away with the family dependent, and make a family pass?
Okay,
Family pass and make it $175, and if they've got 1 kid or 3 kids, it doesn't matter. Just make it simple.
As long as they all lay their head every night in that.
last year for your.
No 25.
Okay, last year I sold 42 individual passes. I kept counting these, I have them. And I sold property owner family passes, 69.
And that's the
Okay?
couples.
That was anybody.
That's
That was a family pass, which when you know, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I have several couples that would walk in with 15 people.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, that's why there's not you know, there are people who live here that are just dependent families, but then you have extended. But even if, okay, if you wanted to go to individual couple and then go to a family pass, you'd still want to get at least $250 for that pass. This year it's $200. Okay, for a family pass it's $200 what we charged last year. And when I see the amount of people coming in under that pass, $250 is not outrageous for a family pass if you're going to include all the extended people.
Don't extend,
You're not gonna
not
extend.
extended people, not adult children that live away, but living in the house, make it $200 for a family pass. Just keep it simple.
For the people
I
living
see,
in the house.
Yes.
but
And
then we become the question of the grandchildren, spouses. That's where the
That-
extension comes in. And do you put
If they're all into being like, for even $5 a piece, you know, you come in with your 4 grandkids, that's $20 you're gonna pay me, plus you've already bought a.
Well, you're on vacation.
You're on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this day and age, that's a
Don't
bargain.
Yeah, I have no problem. with
That is an absolute bargain.
Well, I know people that are gonna scream, but that's okay.
Well, Mr. Brown?
Could I ask one question? Mr. Eddie didn't get a chance to speak.
Mr. Eddie
but
will have his chance.
I know, but I'm bringing up his family because I know them well. He pays $200 for he and his wife who go up there a lot. But then they've got 4 grandkids living in Wisconsin. They come a lot. Are they gonna pay $4 every day for those
Yes.
4?
Yes.
They pay $16 every time they
Yes.
work.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
I'm over here, so there you go. Anyway,
thank you.
whatever, you know, I mean, if you think that's simpler, that's entirely up to you, you know, this, I thought this was simple, but, you know, that's. Okay, anybody else want to talk about it?
Where do we stand, commissioners?
I-
And
I'd like
Mr.
to-
Presley,
Well,
let's turn your mic on, please.
I understand the rationale of simplifying things, but I also understand the situation that Janice is dealing with in trying to make it more affordable for just a couple of us here, recognizing that we have some families with children who live here who may want to go to the pool multiple times during the summer. The ones that I am least concerned about are the ones that are bringing all of their grandchildren from out of state that are here. You know, I think it's fine to charge them while they're here. I don't know. I don't know. I think we need to respect that she's taken the situation that she's dealt with and trying to make it work positively for both us and them. So I don't know what direction to go.
If we keep it simple, then people can understand it.
Yeah,
And there's not a judgment thing in there.
yeah.
Don't open it up for judgment,
Well,
because then you complicate things and you only piss people off.
Well, in that case, why don't we just charge them $5 every time they come in the door?
here would be a suggestion, here's my thought on it, on the whole thing. We keep the family dependent pass for $200 and limit it to families with children, not residents of the home.
Residents of the home.
Then, for the extended, when you start getting into grandchildren, spouses, outside dependents, then we charge maybe $4, maybe the same as a property owner daily fee.
They always fell under the property owner fees.
Okay, so then we do $4 for anybody who is, we make the family extended, the ones in the household, we count them in the $200. And then add $4 for every person outside the home who's here, any guest.
Okay, that'll take you, do away with the $7.
The $7,
Yeah, the $7 would be somebody who's not.
that's not property owner.
Not property owner.
It's a property owner daily guest fee.
Yeah,
My
that's a
copy.
guest, that would be the guest fee for some, I live here and I'm bringing in my friend from Illinois, so that's not related to me. That would be a guest fee of $7. But a property owner means your children who come from another state would be considered under the property owner pass.
Under the $4.
Yes.
Okay.
That just adds another level of confusion.
It does.
It's unnecessary.
Well, we could
$5.
make that $4 too.
Make it $5, make it $5 for everybody.
Make it $5.
Make it $5.
$5 for
And
everybody.
Janice doesn't need to keep so many ones in her.
Well, that seems to make some sense to me.
But then are you gonna limit it to children under 5 free, or you wanna take
Yes.
that away?
No, that's fine.
5 and under free.
5 and under for free.
They don't take up much water.
Yeah, that,
As long as they're not wearing diapers.
Madam Chair, if you go to Berryville, you pay a fee. Everybody that goes in the door over there at Berryville Center, it's a beautiful center, it's an indoor pool. I think it's up to $7 a day when you go in. Or you can buy a pass, and it's very easy to figure out. Same with the Eureka Community Center. They don't have a pool. You want to go over there and play pickleball, it's like $5, $6 a day, everybody. So I think we're not trying to make the expenses of the pool, the chlorine and PIM and all this stuff, we're not trying to pay your employees over there because we're not going to break even. But we're trying to make it, like everybody said here, very, very simple and fair. That's what I'm all about. Simple and fair.
That's right.
Well, then a suggestion is maybe we take the family dependent pass up to $225, because at this year it's $200 now. So you want to increase that to $225, we have $100, $150, and $225.
that makes sense to me.
That'd be true.
Okay, so we're gonna,
Eliminate all that.
yeah, we're gonna get rid of that. $5 for non-resident, for guests.
Both of those are $5.
Yeah. Okay. That takes care of the people who live here all the time. Should we move on to the nightly rentals and the VRBO? And,
I have no problem with what's proposed here.
Go to the second page, there's two levels.
this is $300 per rental unit. And that is what the homeowner pays, the property owner.
Owns the property, correct.
When the guest comes in the door to swim, they pay $6 plus tax.
Correct.
Or we'll round that up to 7 even to
You wanna
pay
make
for the
7?
tax,
That's fine.
to include the tax.
Sure.
Okay, because they're subject to that excise tax, to that 8%, is that?
No, I don't think they are.
What tax is
The 8% would just be on rentals.
Okay, what is the $6 plus the tax for the
I
daily?
don't know, but you take it up to 7 and I just put in tax included.
Okay, I didn't know where that tax went.
Yeah, we can put that.
And 5 and under for free.
Right.
Now, 500 would go away. 500 per
$5.
student.
$5 at age 5 and under.
Oh, the next
for free.
page.
Next page.
On the next page, that was an or, either or.
Okay,
But if you want to take that away, that's fine.
Let's just take that away and
Take it away.
simplify
Okay.
it to 300.
I just
yeah,
thought-
because then you're pointing at people and saying, the first 5 through the queue
Right.
get in for free, and you other 2 need to pay your money. So
Right.
that's not very, okay.
Sometimes these rental people want a choice.
Yeah. And, my feeling is those rentals, the property owners with the rentals have a real selling point with our pool. And it's only right that we should get some compensation from them. Bob?
As the mayor of Holiday Island has pointed out in the past, though, that is our only industry and probably will be our only industry going forward. And at some point, I'm sure the city government will find a way to recoup some revenues, but
No,
I don't
we'll
think
cross
we-
that bridge when we come to
We
it.
don't want to do anything, I feel personally, that we shouldn't do anything to disparage
Well, I don't view it as,
industry.
I don't view it as a disparagement. I view it as we're providing them a service.
Yeah, I agree, we are, and they take us for granted.
Yeah, we're providing them a swim facility
Yeah.
that costs us money to
I
operate.
know.
That's, okay. So are we caught up here, Mr. District Manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's have Danny.
I only have one
Please.
suggestion. Let me just run real quickly through this. We got individual swim pass, we got couples, and then we got a family pass for
At
$225.
$225.
And that's whoever lives in that household.
Right.
Now, the nightly rental pass would go to $300. Now, children 5 and under are always free, but then I guess there's only one question. The $5 per person, if you don't fit into one of those other categories, it's $5. My suggestion would be across the board, it's $5.
Yeah.
Not 6 or not
Not
7.
$7.
Or
$5.
not 4, and that really simplifies things because
Okay, so you want to leave the VRBO,
At $5.
well, that's just my suggestion.
It
but
does
I think that's a good
simplify
idea.
things.
yeah, yeah.
That's fine. You
I'll
can
tell you,
take
this
it down.
is so simple, I could work at the pool.
There you go.
You want a job, nights and weekends.
Okay, so
And
now,
we're eliminating the family extended.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
taking that out, okay.
correct.
$5.
So any of this category that starts with grandchildren, spouses, dependents living outside the home becomes a daily fee.
Daily fee of $5 per person, anybody over 5, okay.
So, those of you who signed in to speak, does anyone have any comments on the, Mr. Addy? I kind of want, in those awful chairs. Please give us your name and address.
Dan Eddy, 113 Beaver Drive. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, so I'm shaking that way. I'm not shaking because of nerves.
We're pretty scary.
I think the way that the pool is going to be this year, I think you ought to keep the family pass at $200. Number 2, as far as those Airbnbs, I think you ought to keep the fee at $600 with stipulations that 5 of them can get in free for that $600. That's it.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
got
your-
one more thing. The reason I said keep it the same at $200, we're gonna have a mess over there this year. If you pass the new rec building.
We'll have a mess regardless.
Yeah, so that's why I think $200 this year, then you can rehash it over next year. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Eddy. What do you think about that, folks? I don't think the $25 is going to make that much difference. I think that,
I will make a motion.
we're not.
Are we not ready for that?
But what, do you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Anybody? Are we ready for the question? The question is the adoption of the amended swimming pool fees, including for VRBO, for lack of a better word, for 2023, as we just discussed with, and Mr. Presley reiterated to us. All those in favor? Opposed? No. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and the new fees will begin immediately.
Thank you all for your understanding.
It's a good discussion, that's what we're here for.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your public comments on that. So now we will move on to, it's noon, does anybody need a break?
Please.
I'm gonna need more of a break.
Need some lunch?
No, I need to go to work.
Well, this is work.
Keep going.
Let's continue, and then that way we
Let's go
can,
on.
everybody's going to want some lunch too. Yeah. Okay. New business number 5. The question is to consider act to award the bid to C.A. Johnson Construction Company for the construction of the new recreation center. Do I have a motion to consider the question?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we consider the question of awarding the construction to C.A. Johnson. Mr. Presley, would you give us an update on what's going on that front, please?
Yes, as we discussed in previous meetings, we have solicited bids for months on this, and we keep coming back to the same price, somewhere in the neighborhood of $225 to $250 a square foot for a building of this nature with a metal roof. And so we have the plans. The plans did go to a licensed architect and to a structural engineer. I'm waiting to get the stamp from the engineer, but I do have these plans stamped by the architect. There was a suggestion made at the previous meeting that we make a couple of changes to this floor plan, and I have that before you. And the changes are highlighted in yellow on your diagram. The first thing, and I understand how small this print is, it's hard to read, but it says kitchen to be added in phase 2. So what you see there inside that kitchen area is just dotted lines for cabinetry, maybe a dishwasher or sink, or however this might be configured for future use. And that's a decision that we could make, at any point down the road. The other change that was added is a large window at the front, which would be on the the sports complex manager's office. That window is 6 by 6. And if you'll notice, I believe, well, let's assume that this picture is oriented to the north. So the north wall of that office and the west wall of that office, as well as the south wall of that office, are all glass. So you've got glass on 4 sides, and you'll be able to see from the common area in the center of the building, or from the sales counter, or from within that office, through the double glass doors or that 6-foot window. You can see out to the parking lot. You can also see across the street to the number one tee to see who's kicking off the golf out there, because I know we do have people that slip in under the radar and play golf without paying the necessary fees. So those two changes, I think, are good changes. It gives us some flexibility in the future, and it gives us visibility that was needed from that office and from the kind of the open general space there in the middle of the building.
And did Mr. Johnson give you an indication of what we would save by not finishing that portion of the building?
Yes, I'd have discussed these changes with Mr. Johnson. He is very flexible. He says, no problem at all. I can build that for you if that's what you want. He said, frankly, it won't save you a lot to do that kitchen later. $10,000 to $12,000 for the cabinetry, dishwasher. That window there is relatively inexpensive. It's just a picture window. It doesn't open. So that's an inexpensive but beneficial change in my judgment, to have that extra window there. And $10,000 to $12,000 that we would save on the kitchen area, break room area, whatever.
Thank you.
Sure.
We will have commissioner comments. I will start by saying that we have idle funds sitting in the money market account to pay for the rec center. And for our purposes for this discussion, we've been calling it rec center for 18 months, and I think we better stick with that so there won't be any confusion down the line what we're talking about. Our plans from C.A. Johnson check most of the boxes requested by the commissioners. The size has been trimmed down as much as is practical. The cost is market pricing for the type of building and will only go higher if we don't lock it in now. And most important is we have a qualified company that is active in the immediate area, and he wants our business. And in my discussions with him, he is looking forward to doing a building for us. And he has crews here handy that we can work with. And it seems, from my point of view, an ideal fit so that we can get the rec center and the sports complex to have a real nice building that makes it functional and serves our constituents. Next, Mr. Brown.
Danny, what is the cost, you're going to bid, and we're going to try to approve this today, but what is the cost, total cost of this building that you're awarding a bid for?
With the metal roof, it was 570, maybe 572,000. And that changes daily, so.
That's estimated.
Yeah, it's an estimate, but he's confident he's really close on that number. It was 554 with a shingled roof, but we don't, in my opinion, in my recommendation to the board is that we don't build a shingled roof, because those shingles will shed, those granules will get into the water and the filtration system, and I think would really cause us a problem.
And when would the construction begin, and how long would it take? And could you open the pool this year if you're constructing it during the May to September time?
Well, he said construction would begin as.
Can you text him and tell him to get started?
Right away. What was the second part of your question? You asked about
when would construction begin, and when would it? How long would it take?
Okay, about the pool being open.
Yeah.
I think you could create a safe work zone between this building and the pool. If you measure from the side of where this building is going to be to the pool, is over 60 feet.
The big pool.
The big pool. And so that is plenty of like a buffer zone. We could use safety fence. People could still go from the island room and access the pool from that direction. So this could be under construction while the pool is open. Now the small pool, the proximity to the small pool to this building is probably closer than would be safe for people to be in that pool. So I believe it would be closed until this building is complete.
Well, my other comment is, Mr. Zerby was in here at a special meeting, and I really respect Joe. I've known him well. He's a good builder. He's good at everything he does. And he said that some of the building materials, ODP was one, it was at $55 a sheet, and now it's down to $11. So a lot of these $240 to $280 per square foot prices have come down. Another person mentioned in that meeting that, I think it was our chair, that cement has gone up. For 140 square feet, and cement is really high. So I'm not sure that, 2 years ago, a year ago, we're really sky high, and including the building that's been done around the island. But I think we could get some savings there. My comment, and I've made it a lot, and I don't think some of the commissioners don't agree with me, but we have so much to pay for in water and construction, and that I don't think that we should pay this much for this building for the use that it has. I'll respect your decision, but I think it's too expensive for the use that it is going to be used for.
Comments, any other comments?
I do.
Yes, Mr. Stamps.
I will say again, I don't think we ought to spend 1 cent on anything until we get the water system and the sewer system fixed. We're playing with dynamite, because that is the most important factor of this entire community. The backbone of this community is its water system and its sewer system. Yeah, we got a grant here. We're going to apply for a grant there. We're going to apply for this. It's due to lack of maintenance that the water system is in the leaking situation that it's in right now. It's not the fact that the mains are old or this is old. It's the service lines. It's where they were attached to go to houses and to condominiums and to facilities. And those are the ones that are leaking because they attach them with tough tube or whatever the material was. Back then it was tough tube. And that's where the problem is. But I can't justify voting for $572,000 building when we've got that problem in our face. That's my comment.
I will repeat again, we have funds
No, we don't.
available. We have our water system is being taken care of. That money is put aside. We are getting the immediate needs for the water system taken care of. And the things you're talking about fixing, we're talking millions of dollars. And $500,000 for a rec center is money well spent for our community. That's my opinion. That we've got a big old bare spot sitting up there now, and something needs to be done. And people can't continue. The bathrooms are gone. Janice pointed out that it's wet people coming into the rec center, into the island room, is an unsafe situation. It just makes sense to me that there's no reason not to do this when we have means of continuing the work on the water system. We're not closing out anything on the water system.
We don't know what the water system's going to cost.
No, we don't. But we
You
know
don't
what
have a
this-
clue. And that's the most important thing. Now,
So
I can go without swimming, but I can't go without water.
But I haven't heard anyone that's knowledgeable say that the water system is in imminent collapse. It's the same water system.
I'm not saying collapse. I'm saying the lossage and the lack of maintenance. How come something hasn't been already started going on with it? We've been talking about this for over a year.
It is going on.
Where's the repairs?
It's waiting to be assigned, waiting to be awarded.
Waiting to be assigned. The
Waiting.
repairs is maintenance. Take care of it today. We've got a crew.
We don't,
and they repair
And-
any leak that they find.
And no, they complain about, I can't do it. I can put those PRVs in.
That's
I
true.
said, third graders say I can't do it. Grown men figure out a way.
Comments? Anyone else?
Also, Madam Chair, it's 700 and some thousand, not 500,000, because this is 572, and it costs 106 to tear it down and the asbestos. So
And that's
we would be pushing over 700.
That's That's been paid.
It's already been paid for.
The cost of the construction is what we have left.
Doesn't matter if it's paid a month
Doesn't
ago or
matter.
today, it's still a cost to the building.
And we still have the funds to pay for it. And we have money allocated from capital improvements from last year, from 2021, that was not used. So the point is
We
the
have
funding is there.
750,000 for a UV system to
That-
treat the sewer. We have that money. We can put that contract out today, right now.
Yes.
Well, why are we taking a
Well, we
low-cost
can't.
loan? And why are we? going
Actually,
that route?
actually, we can't put that out until we get our rating. I believe we can't do that till we have our rates.
And that, a project of that size by law has to be bid, and the bid packets are being prepared now. The engineer was here 2 weeks ago, went to the wastewater treatment plant, went to well number 4, went to well number 5, met with me, met with Dan, reviewed the rest of the PRVs, and collected the data that he needs to do the bid packet. So that's in the works.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do to push that along any faster. They're very complicated, and it's going to be, we want it done right.
We've done that a lot with PRVs. When Mr. Blood was here, Mr. Schrader was a water manager, which he still is, we put in PRVs. Did we have a bid there? Did we have an engineer helped with it? But he puts them in. Our crews put these in before. This is not a first time.
Well, I think what the difference is that was piecemeal and assigned 5 at a time when they had time to do it. Now we are talking about getting it all taken care of in one fell swoop, and that's a good idea, and we have agreed to that. All we need to do is get a contractor, a company in hand to start the work, and that, you know, I'm hoping by our next meeting, we will at least have the bids out, and hopefully in a month, might even have some responses.
If piecemealing it, how many years have we gone and haven't installed a single one?
I don't know.
At least 2.
At least 2. That's 10 of the 11. And now we have to go out. Now we have to go out to bid, get an outside contractor
Well, we don't have to.
do it.
We don't have to, Larry. We could continue to rely upon our own staff to do it. But Dan Schrader stood right here in this room and told us the reason they hadn't done anything for the last 2 years. They're busy fixing leaks and taking care of the
Doing the
day-to-day
maintenance.
operation, the lift stations for the sewer. The same people are working on
That's
that, you
right.
know, and they haven't had the time. What we decided to do was to do it all at once, and that's why we
I
said.
don't have any problem
Reach
doing
out.
it all at once.
Yeah.
I have a problem of how come it hasn't been done anytime.
Because
How come we just put our hands down and say we're not going to do it?
No, they didn't do that. As I said, he stood right here and told us. the
Well,
reason that,
yeah.
You know, they were just overwhelmed with work and didn't have a chance, but we'll get it done.
It's in the works.
You know, and I do not disagree with you, Larry, that we need to attack this overall water loss issue. But it is such a big issue. Somehow we need to put together a plan, have a tactical plan how we're going to address it. I mean, if it's service lines that we choose, you know, let's start setting aside so much every year, but it could be a project that would drag on for 10 or 15 years. couldn't
Well,
it?
it's like the maintenance has drug it on for 10 or
Yeah,
15
yeah.
years.
That's that.
In the meantime, though, as a commissioner of all the people of Holiday Island, I don't know how we can turn our back and ignore other issues. We have an obligation to the people who live here, the people who pay their AOB every year, to take care of all of their needs, you know, and the rec center, some people don't even know where it was. They never laid eyes on it, but a lot of people did. And in my mind, that whole complex down there, the rec center complex, is probably our greatest opportunity to attract families to Holiday Island, to address the needs of these young families that we would all love to have here. I think we need to tend to business on that.
I think the entire sports complex needs to be looked at.
Oh,
The maintenance
I
on
do too. And
the mini golf.
Yeah, and I think if we move forward with this, I think it would be appropriate for us to ask for Lauren and Janice to put together a plan of how we can, what do we need to do to make the basketball courts usable? What do we need to do to keep the softball field mowed? What do we need to do to clean up the miniature golf? I know Hi-Ha allocated money this year to refurbish the miniature golf course, but the whole place down there, there's a lot of potential down there, the tennis courts, everything. That's our greatest opportunity to serve the needs of young families with children,
Well, I think we need to take the time before we spend $570,000 on this building, is what do we need?
Well,
Is there something else we need in there? And take a long look at it instead of making it a check-in room. Maybe we need to do something else.
Well, it's a headquarters point for the whole facility down there. And we've kicked this can, so to speak, for, what,
18 months.
Year and a half? In my terms at John Deere, it's time to quit cutting bait and start fishing.
Amen, brother.
And it's not gonna get any cheaper.
And, no, it's not gonna get any cheaper. I spent some time with a local contractor, Mr. Lemmy, last Tuesday, and talked to him at length about cost per square footage, because as I said in my little rant 2 weeks ago, we're all of a generation where you built a new structure for $100 to $110 a square foot. Those folks, those times have left us.
Those days are gone.
You also can't buy a car for $10,000 anymore.
Well, do I know that?
$50,000. So we need to accept the fact that prices have gone up. And if the district manager and Phyllis, who have met with this contractor, feel comfortable with him, and we've massaged and moved and changed and voiced our opinions about the roof, restrooms, everything in this facility. Folks, we need to move on.
I wasn't comfortable, 572 maybe about 572. Well, if we take 12,000 for cabinets that somebody's gonna make, maybe we can take 12,000 out. I want a firm number, no change orders, no jacking up the price. Oh, lumber went up to $20 a board. I don't want that. I want a firm bid. And I don't think we have that.
I don't think you'll get that.
I built 3 schools. I got it, and we didn't pay a penny more when I was.
It's not a remodel.
We don't pay a penny more. And we need a construction manager. I asked Danny about that in an email and said we would have a construction manager. Then we wouldn't have problems with slipshod performance, put it that way.
Well, we do have a building inspector from the city now that is very qualified, and he'll have eagle eyes on this. I don't see the benefit of having another person on the payroll watching this thing.
The mayor is here, and I don't know if he'll put his building inspector to do our building. This is a HISET building, not a city building.
Well,
It's a building.
It's in Holiday Island, it has to conform to.
It has to conform.
The other thing I would mention, I know in your email you had asked if we had any bids. The district manager had to go to Mr. Johnson because we had no bids. And so it's, as I said a few minutes ago, he is interested, He wants the job. He is not, he has a reputation already here in the area, a good reputation. And I of the opinion that we need to go forward with this.
Do you know one building he's built that's a commercial building?
I don't personally, Danny may know.
I've not heard of it.
No, not off the top of my head. He
Where's
told
he
us
at?
about
What
some
city
projects.
does he live in or work out of?
I don't know where his home address is, but he works all around Carroll County, Maryville, and Eureka Springs, so
He
which
lives
is
in Pineville, which is north of Bella Vista, just inside the
That's
Missouri.
right, that's right.
Okay.
And he builds a quality house. I don't know of any commercial construction that he's done either, but he's a reputable builder.
Okay, thank you.
Is he licensed?
Oh, of
Yes.
course he is. I didn't have any public comments on my sign-in sheet. Yes, Mr. Eddy,
Yeah, I want
please. I didn't have you down for two
to. I
times.
must have signed the wrong sheet.
No, I only had to, never mind, whatever. And your name and address again, please.
Okay, Dan Eddy, 113 Beaver Drive. I just seen plans of this recently that nobody else has, like in the newsletter or anything, but I was kind enough to get some from our district manager. Okay, the size of the main room is 26 feet by 48 feet. Do you need that size of a room when you consider the size of the 18-hole where they do a lot more business than we did with that size, with a smaller size of the room? The kitchen, I was just looking at the kitchen you got here. I don't think we need anything larger than that size of a kitchen. And when you come in the front door, there's 2 bathrooms right there. Do we need 2 bathrooms in that building? I'd say no. I say you could go by a unisex bathroom for the employees, and then you've got other bathrooms for everybody else. And the size of the building alone, I think you could cut that down by 1/3, because I don't think you need all that space. But I do think you need more space for what the public uses as far as the bathrooms. And I think you should have a place, a locker room, which a lot of us swim all the time. We maintain those lockers with our noodles and such. And instead of these outside shower, I think that's a joke. I think those showers should be indoors, because I don't think anybody's going to use them much outside. I told somebody else it would be like watching a senior porno show, washing up on those outdoor facilities.
You're not supposed to strip naked.
Clothes are not optional.
But even washing yourself out, it's a lot to be desired. And so I think there should be showers on the inside. I think there should be, lower that maintenance room, or extended with them showers. And then I wonder in this proposal, the pool surround is about shot up there. Talk about granules, that's full of granules. Is that included in the bid?
No. That's included in capital improvements, isn't it? Don't we have, did we approve
Well,
something?
We did not approve
Okay.
it because it's like
That-
$125,000. Yeah.
But it still, it
Yeah.
needs something.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
And there's an alternative solution possible of some sort of coating to seal it. And
Well, that'd be great. And then, is there a need for a vaulted ceiling in that, where they check in for equipment? And I think that's, vaulted ceilings, to me, I think will cost more than if you just put a regular 9-foot ceiling in all the way across the place. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I get change back?
I'll give you $1.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mr. Eddy.
You bet.
The question, are we ready for the question? Ms. Janice?
Can I make some comments? No, I'm not, I mean, you know, about the building. No?
Please,
Okay.
please keep it brief.
Yeah.
Since you're going to be living there.
Okay, just to talk about what you said, the bathrooms. I have men and women that work there. And right now, we have a men and women's bathroom in our place, and we also have one in the other building, in case nobody knew that. We didn't use the bathroom that the men use, it's ours. We went to, I didn't see the current plans, but we just went to like a powder room, a toilet and a sink. We didn't go into a full-blown, bathroom because we could do that over there. At least that's the plans I had seen earlier. Showers, okay. This is not a country club where you come in and have to change to go to work, okay? The outdoor showers were just to, hopefully they can make it where it's a tepid water. You get out of the pool, you rinse off your chlorine, you get showered, you towel it off and go home. That's why we eliminated that. Lockers, we have saved lockers from the other building, and they will be under that, between the 2 buildings. You got the roof, they will be along that wall, so you will still be able to put your noodles and stuff in there. I don't feel that it's outrageously big. I would hope that we do the kitchen before, in this phase, because I have a fear that it'll never get done. And the point with the kitchen is that I'd like to see come back the parties at the pool. You have a window there that you would open it up, you can pass the food out that way. These are things that we used to do until the COVID hit. And without a kitchen, which is like our break room, then we won't have a refrigerator and a stove. I mean, again, we're back to how do we eat our lunch? We can close up, get everybody out of the pool, go out to lunch. I have no problem with that. But it's just something, I just don't know how to address that when we're going to be working there in all these different shifts. So, that's what I just want to say.
Thank you. I think we're going to close the discussion, Mr. Eddy. Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Are you ready for the question?
I just
Yes.
would like to reiterate what I said the last time we were here. We have $2.5 million in our checking account. That's $1.4 million more than we had 7 years ago. I do not think the people of Holiday Island pay their assessments for us to put it in a checking account and keep it there. We also have $1.5 million in reserves, CD reserves. We have $800,000 in a restricted account for water projects. We have restricted fire department funds of almost $150,000. And we have almost $250,000 of money that we've set back for equipment. This district, and I want to thank the previous district managers of the previous boards, have been so frugal that we've built up $1.5 million of more working capital than we've had in the past. I think the money is there. I think it helps sell Holiday Island. There's actually no reason for anybody to come live in Holiday Island other than the fact of the amenities that we have here. I think it is our responsibility as a board to protect those amenities. I think that we are doing ongoing maintenance with our infrastructure. I think we have the money. I think we owe it to the citizens to do this. However, that is just my opinion on how I think we should do it.
Madam Chair, I want to mention, and I agree with Suzanne, the money that we have, but we have a new fire chief in town, and I think he's got a great look at, from what I've been hearing and talking to him, about very expensive fire additions. Like, do you know that one fire truck is about $1 million? $1 million. Now, would we have to buy one like that? But I would like a workshop coming up in the future with him here to describe what his plan might be, what his goals would be for the next like 5 years. And then we could use some of that money that we frugally put aside and we've got in money markets and so forth. But it's going to be an expensive ticket.
Well,
It's
and
gonna
there
be
will be,
very expensive.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
For the district manager, would it be appropriate, Danny, for us to put a cap on what we're approving? And I know we can do that, but what would you feel, I mean, if we said, no, that the contractor cannot spend more than $575,
That is typical of contracts. I've overseen lots of these sorts of projects, you know, and essentially the wording would be, you know, the board authorizes the district manager to proceed with this project as depicted in these plans, not to exceed whatever that number is, 575. Now, in this market, there is inherent risk in that because of prices and supply chain issues and all that we all are familiar with in this post-COVID era.
I agree, but if I'm spending my own money, I don't want to just carte blanche say, have at it, you know.
And I will coordinate with our attorney in drafting the contract. We actually draft the contract for this project. That will be something that would be included in there, those types of provisions. On the labor side, that's more fixed. There's a lot more certainty in that. On the material side, ourselves and the contractor are really at the mercy of the market, but that certainly would be something included in the contract.
And could we also include a completion deadline with a penalty if it's not met?
Typically, you do have a penalty phase if you include something like that, and that could be negotiated. And yes, to answer that question more directly, yes, we could add that in there as well.
Okay.
You need to, do you want to determine a cap right now before the vote, or is that something that, tell me how this is going to work.
Well, I don't like an open-ended.
I don't either. I mean, I agree.
Approval, and you know, Ken had indicated that, he might be comfortable with around 572, and I think 575 would be, give a little bit of wiggle room there, but still is within that spectrum, so.
Okay, yeah, so there, is that?
I would be comfortable with that, and I'm fairly certain that the contractor would probably be comfortable with that. Now, I don't want to speak for him in this setting, but based on the conversations that we've had, I think that's would be an agreeable number.
And could we put like a 1st of July deadline for completion,
Yes, sir?
or June?
You're pushing it. He's already told us it won't be June.
I've noticed a couple of houses
You know
around
what?
here that have been
If we
under
started a
construction
year
for
ago, we'd
year.
been okay with those dates.
You know, Mr. Lemmy told me, just as a sideline, he said, I'd build that building for you, but all that concrete, that is a lot of concrete.
Yeah,
It is.
that's the biggest
I think
expense.
that's what scared a lot of people.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest expense. And I would, as far as a completion, there's so much in the weather and things, and generally we have good weather. I don't know whether I wouldn't push him to too short of a time frame so he doesn't cut corners. I mean, that's the problem with, if you say we want this done by July the 1st.
It's not gonna be finished when the pool opens.
No.
So,
No.
I mean, let's just say we want it done by September. That should give you plenty of time, you know.
And this is a nice building. It's a very nice building, and I think it's going to be a really nice gathering place for people in the community for a lot of other purposes, even during the off-season, when the pool closes in September and through the winter.
Yep.
Meetings, whatever other uses there may be.
Crawl space.
No cross space.
Okay, I would ask again, are we ready for the question?
Yes.
The question is to award the bid for the new recreation center to C.A. Johnson Construction Company with the adjustments that we just talked about on price cap and a completion date. Mr. Stamps, will you call the roll, please, for a voice vote?
I will. Commissioner Dyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Childress,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Chairman Sherrock,
Yes.
Stamps, no.
By a vote of 4-3, the motion
No,
carried.
2-3
I'm sorry.
to 2.
Math was never my strong suit. By a vote of 3-2, the motion carries, and we will proceed with the new building. Danny, texting.
I will keep the board informed.
Thank you. Commissioner comments. We have completed the business portion. We will move on to commissioner comments. And I would like to make a couple of quick comments, please. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's attended today, and also all those who attended our special meeting on January 9th. It was well attended, and we covered a lot of ground. Thanks for your patience with my first meeting. At that meeting, I jokingly talked about sports complex as a replacement for a rec center, and it seems to have caught on pretty well. I don't know, can you, every time you start to write rec center on something, can you say sports complex? I really think that better defines our asset. And like you say, a lot of people in here don't even will not even know what the rec center was. But I think we old timers can adjust our thinking on that. Bob kind of said already, one of the other things I wanted to say was the board and the district managers have prided ourselves on our frugality. We have a limited budget and bare bones staff in most departments. They have taken seriously the mantra of reduce, reuse, and replace. Recently, we've heard comments on a number of fronts about the deferred maintenance of things that just get overlooked in the day-to-day business. We have room in the budget to address some of these concerns, and most of the concerns are in the public areas. Not all of the funds assigned to capital improvements have been allocated. And I would like to suggest, as Bob suggested, that Janice and Lauren meet with the district manager and determine those things that we can start to tackle. The mini golf, any of those types of things. I know Lauren needs some updates in the kitchen as far as the walk-in and some items that way. We do have what was left from the capital improvements, and maybe we can have that information for our next meeting for a discussion. As far as everybody's bailed out on us, but that's okay, we have it for the record. If you see something that bothers you, if the leaves are piled up in the corner of the pickleball court, or there's a loose rock someplace you'd almost tripped over, please say something to the staff. They are there to help. So many times it's a matter of you go home grumbling because I almost broke my leg at the rec center, when a simple conversation at the desk with the person involved will take care of those things. Draw it to their attention when you see those things. A couple years ago, when we had the tornado go through here and I was playing golf, when John was with us, I saw a branch hanging up in the top of a tree, a dead branch up there. Well, I walked over to John or texted or called and I said, we got a problem, there's a big old dead branch up there that's going to blow out and hurt somebody. He He says, oh, a widowmaker, and took care of it. So that's the point. Don't just keep your complaints to yourself and crab about them. Walk in when it's fresh, have a polite conversation with the manager involved, and it'll get fixed. We want to make it nice. Nobody wants people being unhappy with the amenities. So that's my 2 cents.
Madam Chair, I appreciate what you just said, and I would like to have us look at the ballroom, the 18-hole clubhouse, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's carpeting needs to be done, painting needs to be done. The doors, I don't think have been thoroughly repaired or whatever.
Yeah, that's
the
okay.
restrooms in the where you sign in area. And if we're going to go with putting the starting point downstairs, that's a big ticket item. I don't know if we're going to do that or not, or whether I agree with that. The other thing is I'd like to have a workshop soon. I can't attend the one in February because I'll be out of town, but I'd like to have the fire department fire chief aides here and take a couple hours to have and maybe Jeff Dunham could come too and talk about the water as it relates to fire protection, the hydrants, the 4-inch lines, all that stuff that we hear on social media. We would get 2 experts, and along with Dan, to just bring us up to date, but particularly on the fire department of maybe a 5-year plan of what we could buy each year for 5 years. Chief Lediker and Danny had spent a lot of money, and we've invested money in needed repairs, tires and parts and so forth, while Lediker was here, but I think there's more to be done, and I'd like to see that in a special meeting workshop sometime.
Mr. Dyer, comments?
I'll be very brief. I really like what Larry talked about in the service lines, and it made me remember Dan Schrader, our water superintendent, here one day in one of our meetings, said that he believes 60% of our water loss is in those service lines, not in the mains. And so let's talk, have a meeting or during one of our sessions and talk about that and put together a plan and get, not us telling Dan what to do, but Dan telling us what he believes needs to be done. Where do we start? And if it's bringing in a contractor to do half a mile of service, connections up to residents a year, let's attack it. Let's start working on it.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Ms. Childers, do you have any comments?
Now, I have a question. I thought service lines were the responsibility of the property owner.
No. He's talking from the main to the meter.
To the meter.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what he calls a service
That's
line.
what he calls service line.
Okay. Okay.
And then from the meter to the house would be,
The
That's
individuals.
the property
what
owner.
is that called, Larry?
That's the individual's line.
Individual
Yeah.
line?
Okay. No, I'm fine.
That was a good question.
Good
because
point.
I-
I was wondering the same thing.
No, I'm-
Ms. Brown, you have anything else?
No.
Mr. Stamps, anything from you?
Nope,
Okay.
I've said enough.
The next,
Could I leave a one-sentence parting thought with the board?
okay,
Statement.
okay. Now identify yourself. for us.
Alex Thorosi, 158 Holiday Island Drive. One thought I'd like to leave you with is this, and it covers a lot of ground. One could ignore reality, but one cannot ignore the consequences to ignoring reality.
Thank you.
Indeed.
The next regular meeting will be on February 27th. We do not have a work session scheduled. That will be called as needed, and since you're going to be gone, probably will not need one right now.
And I will be out of country February 14th through February 28th.
Okay.
That's like way away.
Can't call in Zoom?
You just have to tell us that you get to take
Going back to Iowa.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Stamps and seconded by Commissioner Brown. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I didn't want